Chapter 621. Lu Ziyun was also part of Xian City's underworld. After his mother, Qing Yu's birth mother, passed away in search of Qing Yu, Lu Ziyun dropped out of school right away. Since then, Lu Ziyun had fallen from grace. There was nothing Lu Tai could do about it. To Lu Ziyun, losing his mother was a reality that he could not accept. Lu Ziyun had been in the underworld for quite some time now. Lu Tai only knew that he had joined a gang in Xian City, but he did not know the details. Lu Ziyun had been in the underworld for so many years, but he was only at the bottom. Who was Brother Hu then? When Lu Ziyun had just joined the underworld, Brother Hu was already a high-ranking member of a big gang. Although Brother Hu was not a particularly reputable high-ranking member of the gang, Brother Hu's status was enough to crush Lu Ziyun. Hence, when Lu Ziyun saw Brother Hu, he was actually a little nervous and afraid. Naturally, Big Brother Tiger did not recognize a small fry like Lu Ziyun. But when Big Brother Tiger led his men into the courtyard of Lu Tai's house, he suddenly heard someone call out his name in a trembling voice. That person must have recognized him. Big Brother Tiger immediately became even more arrogant. Who would have thought that there would be someone who recognized him? Ha! Brother Hu's high-pitched voice dragged out as he led his men into the courtyard. He then walked around with the hoe in his hand. Suddenly, Brother Hu's gaze paused when he saw Yun Jian and Qing Yu. Oh my, these two youngsters are quite pretty. Brother Hu was a high-ranking member of a big gang in Xian City. He had played with countless women, but when he saw Yun Jian and Qing Yu, he felt like his world had changed. Yo 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 yo! Brother Hu whistled and sized up Yun Jian and Qing Yu with a roguish gaze before he tapped the ground with the hoe in his hand. You guys touched my third brother just now. Do you have a death wish? Brother Hu suddenly shouted. His arrogant voice sent chills down the spines of most of the people present. Lu Tai was just a villager. He had been honest and dutiful all his life and had never encountered something like this. He was afraid, but he pulled Qing Yu's hand in an attempt to shield her behind him. Your third brother? Ce lazily leaned against a corner of the wall. His eagle-like eyes had already turned to look at Brother Hu. His lazy tone carried an aura that couldn't be ignored. Mother****, it's that guy who you crippled. An old bachelor standing next to Brother Hu shouted at Ce in order to gain Brother Hu's favor. Heh! Ce smirked. He didn't feel threatened at all by the arrival of Brother Hu and his gang. Damn it! Are you guys looking for death? How dare you act so arrogantly after touching my people? F***ck. Brother Tiger swung his hoe and fiercely hacked at the ground. Then, Tiger seemed to have thought of something. He threw the hoe on the ground and carefully took out a real weapon from his pocket. F***ck. Do you think that I will be afraid of you just because you have guns? I also have a gun. Ha ha ha. I'm not afraid of you. Brother Hu knew that Bachelor Wang was crippled because he was shot in the groin, so he had prepared this weapon. Lu Tai, Lu Ziyun, and Lu Qi instinctively shuddered when they saw that Brother Hu had a gun. Chapter 622. Brother Hu's heart skipped a beat when he saw Yun Jian suddenly taking out a butterfly knife and twirling it around. F***ck. Brother Hu cussed in his heart. How could he be intimidated by a woman who had a knife in her hand? This was illogical. Looking at Yun Jian's exquisite face and the exquisite body wrapped in winter clothing, Brother Hu felt an itch in his heart. Do you know who I am? Brother Hu hooked the gun in his hand and turned it around to show off his cool to Yun Jian. After showing off his cool, Brother Hu was even more pleased with himself. He was a handsome man when he was young. Coupled with the way he twirled the gun around, it was enough to attract a large group of young women. Looking at Brother Hu's cool act in front of her, coupled with his overly muscular body that was close to fat, Yun Jian kept the butterfly knife in her palm. She looked at Brother Hu and said word by word, You're a pig. You're a pig. Yun Jian had said that Brother Hu looked like a pig. Now that she thought about it, the Brother Hu in front of her did resemble a pig. Although a pig was not tall, Brother Hu was 1.8 meters tall. Brother Hu's muscular arms and fat legs were almost 4 to 5 times thicker than Yun Jian's. What else could he look like if not a pig? With Yun Jian's pointing, the few old bachelors beside Brother Hu were trying hard to hold back their laughter. Some of them were even laughing out loud. Brother Hu was the higher-up of Xian City's second-ranked gang. Many people in the underworld were afraid of Brother Hu, and yet Yun Jian called him a pig? Laugh, laugh, laugh your head off. Brother Hu turned his head to the side and roared at the group of old bachelors. Just as he finished, Brother Hu turned his gaze to Qing Yu and Lu Ziyun. Brother Hu said to Lu Ziyun directly, "You're from Xian City's underworld too, aren't you?" He. I heard that's your sister who just came back? She's not bad looking. Kid, lend me your sister to play with for a few days and I'll promote you to be my underling in our gang. How about that? Brother Hu said to Lu Ziyun as if he was the one who was at a disadvantage. Lu Ziyun had been trembling just a moment ago, but upon hearing Brother Hu's words, an indescribable rage suddenly erupted from within him. Qing Yu had suffered so much. Perhaps Lu Ziyun would blame his sister if he did not know. Even if Lu Ziyun did not know about Qing Yu's suffering, he only wanted to chase her away because he was too angry. Lu Ziyun was a gangster, but he was a man with dignity. There was no way that he would do something like exchange his sister for his position. Get. If you dare to touch my sister, I won't let you off even if I die. Lu Ziyun roared out. His weak and feeble demeanor had been completely reversed in an instant. Even Qing Yu was shocked. Brother! Qing Yu cried out, touched. F***ck. Brother Hu roared, looking back and forth between Qing Yu and Yun Jian. He was going to get rid of both of them today. Are you done with your last words? Just as Brother Hu was going crazy, Ce cold yet domineering voice came from the side. Ce changed his stance when he heard him. He was no longer leaning against the wall but was walking over. What last words? F***ck. Who do you think you are? Brother Hu yelled when he realized what was going on. He was infuriated by Ce's words. Looks like you're done. You can die now. Ce did not even look up. Then, he held the gun in his hand like a magic trick. I have a gun too. However, before Brother Hu could raise his gun, Ce's long fingers had already pulled the trigger. Bang. Chapter 623. Before Brother Hu could raise his gun and finish his sentence, a bright bullet shot through Brother Hu's head at a speed that was indiscernible to the naked eye. One shot, one life. Everyone present was scared to death by Ce's actions. Brother Hu's group of people were so frightened that they cried out on the spot. Each of them had a terrified and horrified expression on their faces. The group of people present were all from the countryside, and their education levels were similar. They had only graduated from elementary school. Therefore, when people here encountered problems, they had no awareness of the law. They only knew how to form gangs and bring their brothers to fight. It was also because of this that Brother Hu's group didn't go to the police when Wang Single got into trouble. Instead, they carried hoes and came to cause trouble for Ce. The people in the countryside had a weak awareness of the law. When something happened, they would usually find someone to solve it themselves. Naturally, it was not uncommon for both sides to fight until their heads bled. However, for Ce to kill someone as soon as he appeared, and the person he killed was a high-ranking member of a gang in Xian City. This kind of thing was simply unheard of. Although Brother Tiger's group of Bachelor Alliance brothers were also people who often fought, and they often fought until their heads bled, Brother Tiger didn't care. Therefore, no one would be surprised if there was a little blood. However, the death of one person was not a small matter. Most importantly, Brother Hu was a high-ranking member of the second-ranked gang in Xian City. If the gangs in Xian City were to blame them, none of them would have an easy time. For a moment, Brother Hu's group of brothers were all frightened out of their wits. Murder, murder. You killed someone. Someone pointed at Ce and said in an extremely terrified tone. Do you know who you killed? That's a high-ranking member of the second-ranked gang in Xian City. You're finished. One of Brother Hu's brothers shouted at Ce and Yun Jian in astonishment. How dare you look at my woman like that? Do you still think you can live? Don't even think about leaving today. Ce's slender fingers lightly flicked the muzzle of his gun. He cast a sidelong glance at the group of people as if he was looking at a group of dead people. Ce killed someone just because they looked at Yun Jian that way? Coupled with the fact that Ce had crippled Wang Guoguang's family jewels. Lu Tai, Lu Ziyun, and Lu Qi were already scared out of their wits. But now, a sense of horror welled up in their hearts. Brother Tiger's group of brothers immediately realized this. From Ce's words, he was going to kill all of them? Brother Tiger's group of brothers panicked. He was even more terrified than Brother Tiger dying in front of him. Ah! I don't want to die. The group of people howled. They no longer pretended to be manly as they turned around and ran away. Ce narrowed his eyes and raised his gun. He was the leader of the Hun organization and had never cared about human lives. The reason he did not kill before was for Xiao Jian's sake. However, the same thing could not happen more than 3 times. This group of people had repeatedly violated his bottom line. Based on his personality, he should have killed them all. No. Don't. Young man, you can't. Lu Tai was kind-hearted. Despite his fear, he ran up to Ce and blocked Ce from killing more people. Let them go, Yunjian said when she saw the situation. Brother Tiger's group of brothers also took advantage of this time to run away without leaving a trace. Lu Tai suppressed his fear instantly. Lu Qi, on the other hand, was rooted to the spot dumbly. There was only endless fear in her. The man of the friend Qing you brought back had killed someone. Chapter 624. Lu Tai heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Ce put the gun away. In spite of it, he still shuddered when he saw Brother Hu's body on the floor. In the end, Lu Tai went over to give Ce a shove before calling Lu Ziyun, Lu Qi, Qing Yu, and Yun Jian over. Go! All of you go! All of you go! Lu Tai began to chase them away. Lu Ziyun and Lu Qi were among those who were chased away. Dad! You! Lu Ziyun's eyes widened as he stared at Lu Tai in disbelief. Go! Don't say anything else. Xiao Yun, go to the room and take out the metal box under Dad's bed. It contains the rest of our family's money. Take all of it and run. Run as far as you can. Don't ever come back. Lu Tai frowned and said with a pale face. And Xiao Exan, my good child, you go too. Lu Tai urged with a smile that was uglier than a crying face. Xiao Yun, promise me you'll take good care of your sister. Lu Tai turned to Lu Ziyun and said. Lu Tai's order made Lu Ziyun and Lu Qi's faces even paler. They also realized the seriousness of the matter. Lu Tai was just a farmer from Luo village, but Brother Hu was a high-ranking member of Xian City's second gang. Although Brother Hu was not killed by Lu Tai, he died in his own home. The second gang in Xian City was stirring up trouble. Not only did they collect protection fees from those who worked hard in Xian City, they also exploited the common people. Even if one of their brothers died, the second gang would implicate Lu Tai's family, let alone the death of a high-ranking member of Xian City's second gang. Lu Tai was an honest man. Although Ce was the one who killed him, Ce would have to go to jail if this matter was blown out of proportion. He might even be executed. Lu Tai could not bear to see such a good child's life ruined just like that. After all, this was caused by Brother Hu and his gang. Although Lu Tai believed that Ce was being impulsive, he did not want to leave this place. On the other hand, Lu Tai himself was reluctant to leave the place where he had spent his entire life with his late wife. But considering his children, he decided to bring Lu Ziyun and Lu Qi along as well. Dad? We didn't kill them, so why should we run? Lu Qi was from Xian City, so she had naturally heard of the power of the second gang in Xian City. However, she couldn't understand why they had to run away when they weren't the ones who killed this man. Lu Tai's actions were obvious. He wanted to take the blame for Ce. Ce's black eyes flashed twice. He was also somewhat surprised. This person actually wanted to take the blame for him? Little Qi, listen to me. Lu Tai made up his mind and shouted at Lu Qi. No, Dad. Lu Qi treated Lu Tai like a father and daughter. Perhaps Lu Qi was not friendly to Qing Yu, but she did not have any other thoughts toward Lu Tai. Just as Lu Tai and the other two were panicking, Yun Jian turned to look at Lu Tai and said, No one needs to run. Lu Tai was stunned. He glanced at Yun Jian in surprise. But this? Qing Yu, take that out. Yun Jian turned to look at Qing Yu and ordered. Okay, Sister Jian. Qing Yu nodded and took out an airtight container from her small bag while Lu Tai and his family watched in bewilderment. The airtight container was small, similar to those used for chemistry experiments, but it was airtight and the body fluid inside would not be poured out. After Qing Yu took it out, she followed Yun Jian's instructions and went to Brother Hu's body under the family's shocked gazes. She opened the container and poured the fluid all over Brother Hu's body. Chapter 625. Lu Tai and the other two were already surprised when Yun Jian called Qing Yu, Qing Yu. After all, Qing Yu was only Lu Xian to the three of them. Come to think of it, Qing Yu had been away from home for so many years. According to her, she had even lived in an assassin organization. How could she have been using the name Lu Xian? Therefore, the three of them were relieved. What did Qing Yu do though? She took out a sealed container that looked like it was from a chemical experiment. After opening it, she poured all the water in the sealed container onto Tiger's body. Here came the frightening part. Lu Tai had been a farmer his whole life. He had been a down-to-earth person, earning the fruits of his labor with his hard work. Lu Ziyun and Lu Qi, who lived in the countryside, did not have much exposure to such things. Brother who turned into a puddle of blood. This scene completely shocked the three of them. Ah! Corpse! Corpse! Corpse turned into a puddle of blood. The scene was even more shocking than brother who being shot dead by CE. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Lu Qi would not have believed such an unrealistic thing. Lu Qi was already shrieking in shock. He covered his eyes and squatted down, trembling. This. Lu Tai was shocked as well. Lu Ziyun's mental fortitude was much better than Lu Qi and Lu Tai's, but when Lu Ziyun first saw this scene, the shock he received was no less than Lu Tai's. Little sister, you. Lu Ziyun's mouth was agape as he put on a look of disbelief. Qing Yu put the lid back on after pouring the liquid from the sealed container, and hid the item back into her bunny-patterned bag. Qing Yu turned around and explained to the three of them, Dad, don't be scared. This is corpse-dissolving water. You'll be fine as long as you don't touch it. Younger sister, how could you bring such a dangerous thing with you? You. Before Lu Ziyun could finish his sentence, Qing Yu interrupted him. Qing Yu smiled and turned to Lu Ziyun to say, Brother, it's fine. Her bag has been modified. The material is special. Even if the liquid in the container spills out, it won't flow out of the bag. Yun Jian walked up to Qing Yu and explained. Yun Yi, who was standing beside Qing Yu, was equally shocked. Ce calmly covered Xiao Yunju's eyes, not letting Xiao Yunju see the bloody scene. Of course, Ce himself maintained his composure without a flicker in his eyes. Heh. Qing Yu turned to smile at Yun Jian. Her delicate baby face looked very gorgeous. As Lu Tai and the other two men panicked once more, Qing Yu patted her bulging bag and teased Yun Jian mischievously. Sister Jian, this dissolving water is very expensive. I couldn't bear to sell it even when someone offered $10 million. You have to reward me well. Without a doubt, the corpse-dissolving water was the best divine tool for destroying corpses. You can pick any of the branches under my name. Yun Jian crossed her arms and replied to Qing Yu with a smile. The conversation between Yun Jian and Qing Yu made Yun Yi, who was clueless about the situation, suspicious. Ce was unfazed. Their conversation, however, had Lu Tai and the other two men rooted to the spot, dumbfounded. What? The corpse-dissolving water in Qing Yu's hand was worth $10 million. US dollars. In 1998, a family in Luo village would only need a few hundred yuan for a month's living expenses if they had a simple meal. $10 million worth of corpse-dissolving water. What did that mean? Chapter 626. Yun Jian had many subsidiary companies in her past life. When she was reborn, the company she stole from with her hacking skills had many subsidiary companies. But that company was managed by one of Yun Jian's subordinates with the codename Alluring Demonis. The company that Alluring Demonis was in charge of was known as subsidiary companies in other regions and not in the headquarters. Subsidiary companies were not the head office. These subsidiary companies under Yun Jian, even if it was just a subsidiary company, had at least $100 million worth of wealth. Heh, thank you, Sister Jian. Qing Yu smiled sweetly. It was a mischievous grin. Lu Tai and the other two were rooted to the spot. Lu Tai was just a villager. To him, if he had more than $10,000 in cash, he would be considered one of the wealthiest families in Luo village. After all, the people in Luo village were basically poor and economically backward. Those who were rich had gone to the big cities to develop themselves. Most of those who stayed in Luo village could not leave. $10 million. When Qing Yu said that the thing she had was worth $10 million, she used it just like that. In comparison, Lu Qi's reaction was the most intense. In the beginning, when Qing Yu came back, Lu Qi treated her purely as a slave. Lu Qi had even made Qing Yu wash all the clothes in the house and made things difficult for her. Qing Yu did not say a single word of objection. Lu Qi, Lu Ziyun, and Lu Tai knew that Qing Yu was rich. After all, Qing Yu was wearing branded coats when she came back. They did not expect Qing Yu to be so rich. They did not expect Qing Yu's friend to be so rich as well. She offered to give Qing Yu a subsidiary company right off the bat. A subsidiary company was still a company. This young girl was frighteningly capable. Dad, why are you guys afraid of this person? Qing Yu turned to ask Lu Tai after her interaction with Yun Jian. This person was naturally referring to Brother Tiger. Yun Jian watched with her arms crossed. Sigh. At this moment, Lu Tai sighed and shook his head. Sis, you should be asking me about this. As he spoke, Lu Ziyun scratched his head and said with a tinge of shame, Don't laugh at me. I'm also from the streets of Xian City. With that, Lu Ziyun's face turned serious. That brother who is one of the higher-ups of Xian City's number 2 triad. If he was just a higher-up, we wouldn't have to be so afraid. But the problem lies with this brother who. His sister is the daughter-in-law of the number 2 triad. The second leader dotes on his wife very much, and the second leader and the first leader of the second gang in Xian City are blood brothers, and they are as close as real brothers. If something happens to Brother Tiger, it will directly involve the big boss of Xian City's second gang. The second gang's status in Xian City is not ordinary. I'm just a small punk, and my family is just an ordinary family. There's no way we can fight against the second gang in Xian City. That was why Lu Tai reacted so violently after Ce killed Brother Hu. Then what should we do? Lu Qi shouted in fear. Then Lu Qi glared fiercely at Yun Jian and Ce and shouted at them, This is all your fault. You'll have to take responsibility. Don't drag my family into this. Of course we won't let your family take responsibility. Yun Jian glanced at Lu Qi. Yun Jian naturally wouldn't let Lu Tai's family bear the consequences. But Lu Qi's words made her very unhappy. Let's go, Ce suddenly spoke, uttering the word curtly. You still want to leave? Then what about my family? We'll all be killed by the second gang. Do you even have a conscience? Lu Qi was so scared that she was about to cry. She thought Ce was really going to leave. If you don't want to die, then destroy it first. Ce held Xiao Yunju's hand and spoke in an extremely calm tone. What? Destroy the second gang? How is that possible? With just the two of you? Lu Qi's eccentric voice sounded once again. Chapter 627. Ha! Ce scoffed softly at Lu Qi's words. Ignoring Lu Qi, he pulled Xiao Yunju outside. For Yun Jian's sake, Ce had already shown mercy by not killing Lu Qi on the spot. If they stayed any longer, Ce would only feel the urge to shoot them dead. Ce had always been decisive, unlike Lu Qi's family who was overly cautious. Taking 2 steps toward the door, Ce turned back and walked to Yun Jian, holding Yun Jian's hand with his other hand and heading out. Qing Yu followed when she saw Yun Jian heading out. Sister Jian, I'm going too. Since Qing Yu wanted to go, Yun Yi wanted to follow as well. Don't go, all of you. Take care of my brother. Yun Jian suddenly told Qing Yu before she took Xiao Yunju from Ce's hand and passed Xiao Yunju's to Qing Yu. Qing Yu listened to Yun Jian, answering as soon as Yun Jian spoke. I'll lead the way. Lu Ziyun suddenly spoke up after a few seconds of hesitation. Yun Jian did not reject him. Just as he finished speaking, the sound of an alarm came from the entrance of the village. Luo village was quiet, but the siren from the village entrance sounded abruptly. As the sound came closer, Lu Tai and his friends paled in fright. It's police cars. This sound was heard when someone got into a gang fight and injured someone in our village. Dad, the police are here. Lu Qi grabbed Lu Tai's hand and shouted in panic. There was a police station in the town near Luo village. Brother Hu and his gang who came to cause trouble were all from Luo village. Naturally, they had gone to the town's police station to report the incident. Sure enough, not long after the siren sounded, 3 unique police cars drove in from the corner. Several police officers immediately got out of the 3 police cars and pointed their stun batons at Ce, Yun Jian, and the others. Someone reported that you killed someone. Come back to the police station with us now. One of the more mature-looking male police officers came over and said. Then, this group of police officers also checked inside and outside Lu Tai's house. He didn't find anything out of the ordinary. After Qing Yu turned Brother Hu's body into a puddle of blood, he cleaned it up without leaving a trace. Not a single trace was left at the scene. No, I'm not going. I'm not going. We didn't kill her. It was him. It was this person. You can catch him. Lu Qi pointed at Ce and shouted. The group of policemen ignored Lu Qi and took everyone present away. Ce and Yun Jian did not resist. Everyone was brought to a police station called Shangjie Town, which was closest to Luo village. 2 hours later, everyone was released without charges. The moment they walked out of the police station, Lu Tai and the other two were dumbfounded. Lu Ziyun was even more incredulous. Looking at Ce, who managed to walk out unscathed after killing Brother Hu just now, Lu Ziyun's heart raced wildly. How did we get bailed out so quickly? Lu Ziyun turned to look at Ce and asked suspiciously. It was Brother Hu whom Ce had killed. Yet, they were all released without charges? Ce ignored Lu Ziyun. Ce held on to Xiao Yunju with one hand and Yun Jian with the other as they walked out of the police station. Just as they stepped out of the police station, someone came up to them. Chapter 628. Ce nodded slightly as if everything was under his control. In spite of it, Adam's sudden appearance and his words shocked Lu Tai, Lu Ziyun, and Lu Qi, who had followed them out of the police station. The second mafia group in Xian City was second only to the first mafia group in Xian City. In Xian City, the second mafia group was an existence that could cover half the sky with one hand. Such a large mafia group was annihilated by this man who addressed Ce as young master? How was that possible? Who are you lying to? You annihilated the second mafia group? We've only been in the police station for 2 hours. How could you annihilate a powerful mafia group like the second mafia group? I don't believe it. Lu Qi said bluntly. Enough, Xiao Qi. Seeing how Lu Qi kept speaking, and how every word that came out of her mouth was overbearing, even her brother Lu Ziyun could not bear to watch any longer. He immediately roared at Lu Qi. Stop it! Gu Yu! Lu Qi was unrepentant. Young master, this woman dares to question you. Do you need me to kill her? Adam was a violent man. He was not afraid that they were in the police station, so he pulled out the Desert Eagle from his belt and pointed it at Lu Qi. Lu Qi screamed again, hugging her head when she saw the real gun. No need. Let's go, Yun Jian told Adam. How could he disobey the young madam's order? Adam did not forget that Ce had warned them not too long ago. Yun Jian's words were his orders and everyone in an Hun group had to obey. Otherwise, they would be punished severely. Yes, Adam replied, and then he kept the Desert Eagle. Lu Qi breathed a sigh of relief after walking through the gates of hell once again. She was so scared that she almost lost her life. No one cared about Lu Qi's reaction. Ce turned to look at Adam and continued, I'll leave everything here to you. Take care of everything. Did that mean that they were leaving? Qing Yu quickly asked Yun Jian. Sister Jian, you guys are going back to Longmen City? Yes. Yun Jian nodded. Since she could not stay in Qing Yu's house any longer, she naturally left. Oh. Qing Yu was reluctant. In fact, Qing Yu was truly reluctant to part with Yun Yi. If Ce and Yun Jian were leaving, did that mean that Yun Yi was leaving too? Yun Yi suddenly spoke to Yun Jian. Xiao Jian, I'll stay here for a while. I'll return to Longmen City after everything's settled. You guys go first. When Yun Jian heard this, she immediately nodded. Yes. Therefore, Yun Yi had a legitimate reason to stay. Adam also stayed behind to deal with the aftermath. Since Ce had killed Brother Hu, she should at least settle everything before leaving. On the other hand, Ce led Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju away. Before they left, Ce tossed the keys to her Lamborghini sports car to Adam for him to drive back. The reason why Adam could reach Xian City within 2 hours and annihilate the city's second-ranked mafia group was that he had taken a private helicopter over after receiving the news. The journey that was supposed to take at least 7 to 8 hours was a short while by helicopter. As for Adam's private helicopter, it was snatched away by Ce right away. Adam's private helicopter was parked in a large open space. There was a pilot in the private helicopter as well. Ce and Yun Jian came here with Xiao Yunju. Ce picked up Xiao Yunju, who was currently looking at the helicopter in amazement, swaying his head curiously. Chapter 629. Xiao Yunju shook his head quickly and answered obediently, "No." Xiao Yunju then turned to Yunjian and asked with a pout, "How about Jejie? Have you been in a helicopter before?" Faced with such an obedient Xiao Yunju, Yunjian could not bear to lie. She nodded and said, Oh." Xiao Yunju nodded again. Ce had already squatted down to carry Xiao Yunju, and put Xiao Yunju on the back seat of the helicopter that was parked on the lawn. The helicopter was parked on the ground, not too far away from the ground. Ce turned to hold Yunjian's hand and went to the back seat of the helicopter. After closing the side door, the pilot in front operated the helicopter to take off. "Oh, we're flying!" Xiao Yunju exclaimed happily by the window at the back seat of the helicopter. He even spread his arms in excitement. "Sit tight and don't move around," Yunjian could not help calling out to him. Seeing how happy Xiao Yunju was, Yunjian's heart warmed from the bottom of her heart as well. It was to the extent that Ce kept holding Yunjian's hand. Even when he rubbed her soft hand with his large palm and took advantage of her, Yunjian did not notice it at all. The helicopter reached Longmen City in just an hour. The helicopter had to land on a flat and spacious ground. It could not land anywhere. Therefore, the pilot who had been flying the helicopter without uttering a word found an empty spot to land. After Ce pulled Yunjian and Xiao Yunju down, the pilot drove the helicopter away. "Jejie, Ce, Gij, Xiao Zhu wants to fly a helicopter in the future too." Xiao Yunju's eyes shone as if he had found his lifelong goal. He was beside himself with excitement. Yunjian rubbed Xiao Yunju's head with a warm smile. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Initially, they had planned to stay the night at Qing Yu's house and return home the next day. However, with so many things happening in Luqi around, they could not stay at Lu Tai's house any longer. Therefore, Yunjian and Ce brought Xiao Yunju back to Longmen City. When he got home, he saw Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian sitting on the sofa in the living room, chatting happily. After a whole day of thinking, Qin Yiru came to a decision. Although she had not known Gu Junjian for long, it was hard to meet a soulmate. This kind of relationship was also fate. Qin Yiru had listened to Zhang Meihua back then and married Yun Gang dutifully. Not only did she ruin her own life, she almost ruined Yi and Xiao Zhen's lives as well. Gu Junjian was an upright person. If she still considered him, wouldn't she be humiliating herself? Therefore, Qin Yiru agreed to Gu Junjian swiftly. Both of them were watching TV on the sofa in the living room, thinking of coming up with an excuse and telling Yunjian and Yun Yi when they came back to seek their approval. Unexpectedly, once the door opened, Yunjian and Ce came back with Xiao Yunju. Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian were still stuck close to each other. Caught out of the blue, Qin Yiru jumped in fright and almost slipped on the floor. Gu Junjian reacted quickly and caught Qin Yiru's hand. Xiao Jian, why are you guys back so soon?" Qin Yiru asked guiltily. Gu said he wants to stay there for a few days, so we came back first," Yunjian explained briefly. Qin Yiru's expression turned serious as she told Yunjian with mixed feelings, "Xiao Jian, Mom has something to tell you." Chapter 630. What? Xiao Jian, you know about it? Qin Yiru was still hanging her head, thinking about how she should tell Yunjian about it. She did not expect Yunjian to already know about it. "Mom, as long as you're doing well and happy, I won't object. I'll support you with everything I have," Yunjian said from the bottom of her heart. Humans had feelings. Although Yunjian was a secret agent in her past life, she had already treated Qin Yiru as her biological mother in this life. What Qin Yiru did for her and her brother could not be expressed in a few words. Yunjian also knew that no one would do more for her than Qin Yiru. This was motherly love. Of course, if Ce heard what Yunjian said from the bottom of her heart, he would be the first to stand up for her. After Yunjian said what she said, Qin Yiru's eyes were already moist. Her Xiao Jian had really grown up. Qin Yiru still remembered that her daughter was quite willful when she was young, and her results had always been mediocre. It was only when the first semester of the third year of junior high school started that her results gradually improved. Before she transferred from Xinjiang town to Longmen City, she had even gotten first place in the 5-school joint examination. Qin Yiru was so proud back then. Xiao Jian. Qin Yiru's tears were about to fall. "Mom, don't cry. If you cry, I might disagree." Yun Jian chuckled. Amused by Yun Jian, Qin Yiru held back her tears and smiled through her tears. Gu Junjian had been standing beside Qin Yiru, patting Qin Yiru's shoulder to comfort her. I wonder if Xiao Yi will agree, Qin Yiru muttered to herself with a frown when the atmosphere changed. After all, to Qin Yiru, if either her son or daughter disagreed with her marriage to Gu Junjian, there was no chance of it happening. To Qin Yiru, Yun Jian and Yun Yi were her life support and hope. Mom, brother will definitely agree. I'm sure of it, Yun Jian said with a smile. Her brother, Yun Yi, still wanted Qin Yiru to agree to him and Qin Yu. Moreover, Yun Yi would definitely want Qin Yiru to live well. Qin Yiru was relieved even though she did not hear Yun Yi's reply. Mom, let's go upstairs then, Yun Jian said to Qin Yiru and held Xiao Yunju's hand as they went upstairs. Qin Yiru nodded. She was already happily sitting down to discuss the marriage with Gu Junjian. Gu Yunjian's parents were no longer around. Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian were both married for the second time, so their wedding could be slightly simpler. However, the necessary ceremony had to be completed. Of course, it was still early for the wedding. At this moment, Yun Jian was already holding Xiao Yunju's hand as they walked to his room. Xiao Yunju was already sleeping alone. It was already past 8 o'clock at night. Xiao Yunju was still in his puberty stage, so he was already dozing off. Yun Jian accompanied Xiao Yunju to his small bed in his room, turned off the lights and closed the door for Xiao Yunju before returning to her room. Xiao Zhu is asleep? Ce stood at the door and asked when she saw Yun Jian coming out. Yun Jian nodded. Yun Jian yawned after she finished speaking, feeling sleepy all of a sudden. I'm going back to my room too. Good night. Yun Jian turned to tell Ce before she turned a corner and returned to her room sleepily. Chapter 631. Yun Jian's back was facing Ce just now, so she had her back to Ce when she entered the room. She had planned to lean her back against the door to close it and lock it, but she did not expect Ce to be one step ahead of her and enter the room first. Just as Ce entered the room, he scooped Yun Jian up and pressed Yun Jian onto the big bed not far away. Ce's arms were wrapped around Yun Jian's waist as he pressed Yun Jian on the bed. Yun Jian's back happened to be leaning against him. Yun Jian was still wearing her pajamas earlier, but her sleepiness was all gone when she was suddenly pressed down. It was also at that moment that her cheeks flushed. The white lights in the room were on and the temperature was rising bit by bit. Yun Jian could even feel Ce's breathing growing heavier on her back. Xiao Jian. Ce's masculine voice sounded like a starving beast that suddenly found food but dared not strike. Yun Jian was startled. She could clearly feel that Ce's actions today were more uncontrollable than before. You. Before Yun Jian could speak, Ce had already flipped Yun Jian over and kissed Yun Jian's beautiful lips fiercely, tossing and turning. Unlike the gentle kisses in the past, this kiss was heavy and ferocious, like a torrential river. Yun Jian's heart was about to stop. As they kissed, Yun Jian's gaze gradually blurred. While Yun Jian was being kissed passionately, she suddenly felt a chill in front of her chest. Unbeknownst to her, her jacket and thermal underwear had been taken off. Yun Jian was startled as Ce's large palm moved to her bra. She pressed Ce's palm down in time. Ce was obviously intoxicated by the fragrant body. This was something he had never experienced before. Other than the tights on her lower body that were still intact, Yun Jian's upper body was only left with a bra. Her ample bosom was wrapped by the bra as she lay beneath Ce, fueling Ce's desire. Finally extricating herself from Ce's lips, Yun Jian was pinned down and unable to move. Still, she panted a few times and blurted out what she wanted to say. What's wrong with you? Ce hugged her and bent over, burying his head on Yun Jian's collarbone under her chin and asked, Is your mom moving to Gu Yunjian's house after she gets married? Yeah. What's wrong? Yun Jian nodded. Are you going to follow her? This was what Ce wanted to ask the most. Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's wedding date shouldn't be too long. If Yun Jian were to move out, how long would it take for him to see her again? If my mom moves to Officer Ji's house, I'll naturally follow her. Not only me, but Xiao Zhu will also go. Alright, my brother will too. After all, this isn't my house. My mom has been here for so long that she's actually quite embarrassed. Before Yun Jian could finish her sentence, she felt a shadow covering her lips again. What followed was a long period of demanding. It was only when Yun Jian was about to suffocate from the kiss that Ce finally let go of her lips. Yun Jian didn't understand what Ce meant. If Qin Yiru were to marry Gu Junjian, she would naturally move out. And Yun Jian would definitely move out with Qin Yiru. Xiao Yunzhu and Yun Yi would also move out. Yun Jian couldn't figure out what he was angry about. Just as Ce lowered his head to cover her lips again, Yun Jian suddenly turned her head and asked him, "What's wrong with you today?" Chapter 632. Just as Ce was about to kiss her passionately, the door suddenly opened. The door opened all of a sudden as Yunzhu popped his head in. When Ce entered the room, he locked the door. However, his heart was on Yun Jian when he locked the door, so he only locked it halfway. The door wasn't locked properly. Xiao Yunzhu was about to fall asleep in his room when he suddenly remembered that he had something to tell his sister. He ran to Yun Jian's room to tell her about it. When the door opened, Xiao Yunzhu's head popped in. He opened the door excitedly and said, Sister, Xiao Zhu forgot to tell you that the school is having a parent-child sports day next week. Can sister and brother Ce attend Xiao Zhu's sports day together?" Before Xiao Zhu could finish his sentence, he had already opened the door and peeked in. However, before he could finish his sentence, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. His brother Ce was on top of his sister. "Brother Ce, how could you hit sister?" Xiao Yunzhu's words came to an abrupt end as he ran in with his short legs. When she heard Xiao Yunzhu's voice, Yun Jian jumped in fright. She hurriedly pushed Ce. At this moment, Xiao Yunzhu had already run to the side of the big bed. He walked over and cried, "Boo-hoo, brother Ce, please don't hit sister. Xiao Zhu will be obedient. Brother Ce, please don't hit sister." When Xiao Yunzhu cried, Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian, who were downstairs, also burst into tears. At this moment, Ce immediately got up from Yun Jian's body and covered Xiao Yunzhu's eyes. Yun Jian used this time to quickly put on the clothes that Ce had taken off and sat on the bed with a guilty conscience. Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian heard the commotion and ran upstairs. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Qin Yiru was so frightened that she threw away the TV remote control in her hand. When she heard Xiao Yunzhu's cries, she immediately ran upstairs as fast as she could. Gu Junjian also ran upstairs as fast as he could to Yun Jian's bedroom. When he reached Yun Jian's bedroom, Qin Yiru asked, "What's wrong? Xiao Zhu, what's wrong?" When he reached the door, he saw Ce carrying Xiao Yunzhu in the room. Yun Jian was sitting upright on the bed like a student who had been caught absent-mindedly by the teacher. When she saw Qin Yiru appear at the door, Yun Jian smiled and said to Qin Yiru, "Mom, it's nothing. We were just playing a game with Xiao Zhu." He cried when Xiao Zhu lost. Yun Jian then turned to look at Xiao Zhu and said symbolically, "I told you that a man shouldn't cry. Xiao Zhu, do you understand?" Yun Jian had no choice but to use her brother as a shield. Xiao Yunzhu didn't know about this at all. He only knew that Ce was biting his sister. The teacher said that biting meant hitting, so Xiao Yunzhu told him the truth. "No, Jie, you're lying." Xiao Zhu was sleeping and suddenly remembered that Xiao Zhu had something to tell Jie, so Xiao Zhu came to Jie's room and saw Ce, Gij hitting Jie. "Hey, you hit Xiao Jian." Qin Yiru was shocked. Chapter 633. Little Yunzhu's self-righteous words stunned Qin Yiru, who was rooted to the spot in bewilderment. Yun Jian wanted to facepalm and sigh. Xiao Yunzhu, on the other hand, had no idea that he had said something wrong. Instead, he complained even more vigorously, "Mama Qin, see, Gij is mean." As he spoke, Xiao Yunzhu struggled out of Ce's embrace and ran to Yun Jian to grab Yun Jian's hand. He looked at Yun Jian with his chubby cheeks and told Yun Jian, "Jie, does it hurt?" "Ce, Gij is mean. I'll hit him for you." As he spoke, Xiao Yunzhu ran to Ce and patted Ce's sleeve softly before running to Yun Jian to tell her, "Haha, Jie, Ce, Gij was hit by Xiao Zhu. It doesn't hurt." Xiao Yunzhu broke into a bright grin as he spoke. Qin Yiru, who stood at the door and did not enter the house, was completely dumbfounded. She had just snapped out of the joy of Yun Jian agreeing to her marriage with Gu Junjian when she heard this all of a sudden. And Xiao Jian. How could this be? Qin Yiru stared at the scene in shock, unable to snap out of her panic for a long time. Gu Junjian, who stood beside Qin Yiru, knew about Ce and Yunjian's situation and could only sigh with a hand on his forehead. How could Xiao Zhu be so good at making things happen? She was actually able to tell the whole story so quickly. Perhaps Xiao Yunzhu felt that he was not strong enough, so he asked innocently, Jejia, why aren't you saying anything? Did Xiao Zhu not hurt Ce Gij? But the teacher said it's not good to bite. Ce Gij can bite Jejia, but Xiao Zhu can't bite Ce Gij. The teacher said that biting is a bad child and needs to be spanked. Xiao Zhu's innocent words made Yunjian feel even more awkward. Being grabbed by Qin Yiru all of a sudden, Yunjian was caught off guard. Yunjian had learned how to kill someone with a single blow. She had also learned medical skills and hacking, but she had never learned how to handle such a situation. Cough. Xiao Zhu, come out. Uncle will accompany you to sleep. Gu Junjian knew that it would be terrible if the situation continued. If Xiao Yunzhu said anything else, Qin Yiru would probably overthink. Therefore, Gu could only take Xiao Yunzhu away first. Why? Uncle Gu, Xiao Zhu won't leave. If Xiao Zhu leaves, what will happen if Ce Gij bullies Jejia? Xiao Yunzhu pouted and frowned. His expression was uglier than anyone else's. It was as if Ce had really bullied Yunjian. With your mother here, your Ce Gij won't bully your Jejia. Gu Junjian was speechless. He looked at Xiao Yunzhu and waved at Xiao Yunzhu again. But Xiao Yunzhu turned his tender face to Yunjian. Seeing that Yunjian seemed fine, he nodded and walked over to Gu Junjian. All right. When he walked over to Gu Junjian, Xiao Yunzhu couldn't help but turn to Qin Yiru and say, Mother Qin, don't let Ce Gij bully Jejia. Jejia will be in pain. Xiao Zhu will go to sleep first. With that, Xiao Yunzhu rubbed his eyes. At this moment, Xiao Yunzhu was carried by Gu Junjian. Chapter 634. Qin Yiru watched in a daze as Gu Junjian brought Xiao Yunzhu back to his room to sleep. It was only then that Qin Yiru shifted her gaze back to Yunjian and Ce. Looking at Ce and Yunjian, she opened her mouth and finally uttered, Come out with me. Qin Yiru spoke in a serious tone when she said that. Her stern tone made Yunjian's eyelids twitch. She had never heard Qin Yiru speak to anyone in such a serious tone. After all, Qin Yiru had always presented herself as meek. It was not that Qin Yiru could only present herself as meek. It was just that Yunjian was not used to her being so stern all of a sudden. In spite of it, Yunjian followed her out as well. Ce's tall frame trailed behind Yunjian. He did not utter a word facing Qin Yiru. If it were not for Qin Yiru, Yunjian's mother, he would never have followed her so obediently. Who was he? Lung Pavilion's young master, the leader of an Hun group. No matter which identity he had, it was enough to shock the entire world. Today, however, he listened to Qin Yiru obediently and followed her downstairs. Come over here, stand here. Qin Yiru frowned, a rare sense of unease evident on her face. Yunjian could not help gulping as well. Xiao Jian is my child. She's an obedient child. I've always thought that you're an upright child, but you've disappointed me so much. Qin Yiru looked at Ce as she spoke to Ce, looking uneasy. To Qin Yiru, her daughter and son were her life. She was even willing to exchange her own life for the lives of her daughter and son. Qin Yiru instantly understood what Xiao Yunzhu said just now as Ce had forced Yunjian, which was why she spoke to Ce so earnestly. Auntie, Ce spoke, but before he could finish, he was interrupted by Qin Yiru. Other than Yunjian, the only person who dared to interrupt Ce was Qin Yiru, whom Yunjian cared about. Qin Yiru had no idea that if she was not Yunjian's birth mother, she would not even be standing here lecturing Ce. Right now, the young master of Cold Pavilion, the leader of an Hun group, was standing in front of Qin Yiru and being taught a lesson by Qin Yiru as an elder. Don't say it yet. Qin Yiru called out before she continued. I've already told you everything. Auntie likes you a lot, child, but how could you do this to Xiao Jian? What if you get Xiao Jian pregnant? What are we going to do? Xiao Jian is still a virgin. Qin Yiru's tears were about to fall as she spoke. She tugged at Yunjian's hand as the misunderstanding deepened. Xiao Jian, let's go. We're leaving today. We can't stay in this house anymore. I'll take you away. Qin Yiru thought that Yun Jian had been eaten by Ce. As she spoke, Qin Yiru was about to pull Yun Jian upstairs. Qin Yiru was filled with regret. She had always thought that Ce was an obedient child. She did not expect him to do something like this. Her Xiao Jian. How could this happen? Qin Yiru felt deeply moved, like she was living under someone else's roof. She hated herself. She shouldn't have come here and sent her daughter into the wolf's mouth. Once she thought about how this was not the first time Ce had done something so overboard to Xiao Jian, Qin Yiru was so angry that she could barely breathe. Chapter 635. Qin Yiru thought that Xiao Jian was being forced and was not willing, so she had the urge to run away with her daughter when it came to Ce. Mom! Yun Jian was shocked by Qin Yiru's emotional outburst as well. To Yun Jian, Qin Yiru had always been an amiable person. She did not expect Qin Yiru to go this far for her. Just as Qin Yiru was about to drag Yun Jian up to the second floor to pack her luggage and leave, she pulled Yun Jian up the stairs before she could explain herself. Ce was currently standing on the flat ground on the first floor. With long strides, he reached the stairs in 2 steps and grabbed the railing of the stairs with his large well-defined palm before stepping lightly on the ground with 1 foot. In the next second, he leaped to the 5th step of the stairs from the flat ground, blocking Qin Yiru who was about to run up the stairs. Auntie, Ce called out softly. Qin Yiru was obviously fuming, but she could not bring herself to throw a tantrum at Ce. After all, the child treated Xiao Yunzhu, Yun Jian, and their family well. Moreover, after spending so many days together, humans were sentimental creatures. To Qin Yiru, she treated Ce as her own child. Qin Yiru also knew that Ce did not have a mother since he was young. It was said that he came from a wealthy family. Qin Yiru did not know much about it, but Qin Yiru heard from Dong Yuan that Ce's father had never treated him like his own child. Therefore, all this while, Qin Yiru truly treated Ce as her own child and doted on him. Qin Yiru was indeed fuming just now, which was why she pulled Yun Jian away without waiting for Ce to speak. Qin Yiru's anger had subsided quite a bit now. Although she planned to listen to Ce, Qin Yiru still turned her head away. Auntie, I'm sincere to Xiao Jian. If there's any falsehood in what I'm saying now, you can kill me right now. Ce's words were shocking. As he spoke, he even took out the silver pistol on his belt and passed it to Qin Yiru. When Ce said that, his deep eyes shone with sincerity. Qin Yiru's expression softened slightly. Ae, it's not that I don't agree with you guys being together. You said that you're sincere to Xiao Jian, but what about Xiao Jian? How can you force her? Qin Yiru said with a frown. This was the real reason why Qin Yiru was angry. It was not that Qin Yiru disliked Ce nor was she against it. Qin Yiru had completely misunderstood. She thought that Ce had forced Yun Jian to do a lot of things that she should not have done already. Qin Yiru thought that Ce had already started to grope her daughter before she knew it. This was what infuriated Qin Yiru the most. As a mother, how could she feel good when she saw this? Of course, if Yun Jian was willing, Qin Yiru was a different story. Qin Yiru was not against puppy love. Forced? Ce frowned. He had passed his gun to Qin Yiru without a trace. Qin Yiru, on the other hand, did not even notice why Ce had a gun. Chapter 636. It was awkward to say it, but Yun Jian said it anyway. Yun Jian knew that if she did not say it, Qin Yiru's misunderstanding of Ce would probably worsen. Huh! Qin Yiru froze on the spot when she heard what Yun Jian said and looked at Yun Jian. Qin Yiru was completely dumbfounded after that. From the beginning, Qin Yiru thought that it was Ce who forced Yun Jian to say those things. Now, however, she was told that her assumption was wrong. Did Xiao Jian do it willingly? What? Qin Yiru swallowed hard and turned to look at Yun Jian in disbelief, her gaze filled with realization and shock. Xiao Jian, what did you say? Willingly? Did she blame Ce wrongly just now? Qin Yiru continued. Mom, I didn't tell you before. He didn't force me, so you misunderstood. Since she had said it, Yun Jian told her everything. This. Qin Yiru widened her eyes in shock after she heard what Yun Jian said. Her daughter had been with Ce for so long right under her nose? I think I came out at the wrong time? While Qin Yiru was at a loss for words from her shock, Gu Yunjian's voice came from the staircase on the second floor. Qin Yiru was feeling awkward as well. After all, she had misunderstood CE. Gu Yunjian's appearance eased Qin Yiru's awkwardness a little. Is Xiao Zhu asleep? Qin Yiru changed the topic immediately. He's already asleep. Xiao Zhu's a good boy, Gu Junjian said and came down the stairs. Taking in the atmosphere, Gu Junjian asked with a faint smile, "How's it going?" If Gu Junjian were to ask his impression of CE, he had a good impression of CE. With Gu Yunjian's question, he brought the topic back to the original topic. Qin Yiru coughed awkwardly and turned her gaze to CE and Yunjian again. She did not notice what she was holding. CE's silver pistol. Gu Junjian was shocked when he saw the gun as well. He took the silver pistol from Qin Yiru's hand without a trace. Then, Gu Junjian draped his arm over Qin Yiru's shoulder. Qin Yiru shifted her gaze to CE as well before looking at Yunjian. She told CE, "AE, to be honest, I quite like you too. I won't stop you from being with Xiao Jian, but she's still young, so don't do certain things if you don't have to." Qin Yiru was ashamed of herself toward the end. Of course, it was fine as long as everyone understood what she meant. CE grabbed Yunjian's hand and promised in front of Qin Yiru, "I'll protect Xiao Jian with my life. She's my everything now and she'll be my future." Although CE did not make any earth-shattering vow in front of Qin Yiru, his words were heartwarming, like a quiet stream that flowed warmly and gave people a comforting sense of trust. Forget it, forget it. We're getting old. Think about your matters yourselves. I won't interfere. Qin Yiru was not an old-fashioned person, so she let it go. Chapter 637. Qin Yiru had actually gotten married and pregnant at an early age. Qin Yiru had dropped out of high school and disregarded Dong Ruan's advice, following Zhang Meihua's arrangement to marry Yun Gang. Qin Yiru regretted it a little after they got married, but she had always chosen to believe in Yun Gang, believing that he would treat her well. What she did not expect was that Yun Gang loved to gamble. Not only did he frequently go to the casino to gamble, he even stole money from home and became worse each time. It broke Qin Yiru's heart, but it did not directly cause the marriage to fail. What really caused the marriage to end was that Yun Gang cheated on her. Qin Yiru could not believe it at first. She actually trusted Yun Gang, but she did not expect Yun Gang to really have a mistress behind her back. It was only when the mistress came to her that Qin Yiru realized her mistake. She should have divorced Yun Gang a long time ago, but she did not. Qin Yiru's mother-in-law, Lu Lanhua, even lectured her in front of her, saying, "Which man doesn't cheat?" At that moment, Qin Yiru was truly enraged, but she was a timid person. She still divorced Yun Gang with Xiao Jian's help. After going through such a complicated marriage that dragged her down for half her life, Qin Yiru finally saw through it. At the same time, Qin Yiru was determined not to stop her Xiao Jian if she could find someone she liked. When she found out that the person was CE, Qin Yiru was quite fond of him too. CE was handsome, but that was secondary. Most importantly, he had a good character. To Qin Yiru, it did not matter how he looked as long as he treated Xiao Jian well. CE was undoubtedly the best candidate. Moreover, Yun Jian and CE were in love with each other now. When she heard what Qin Yiru said, Yun Jian, who stood on the stairs, took a step back, nearly missing her footing. Qin Yiru actually said that she would raise their child for them if she got pregnant? That was not the problem though. Yun Jian realized that Qin Yiru had deeply misunderstood her and CE. "Mom!" Yun Jian was about to speak, but Qin Yiru stopped her. "Xiao Jian, I know you're a big girl now and you know how to be shy. I won't tease you anymore. All right, go back and rest too." Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian went downstairs and sat on the sofa to watch TV together. Only Yun Jian and CE were left standing where they were. A second later, CE reached out to hold Yun Jian's hand swiftly. Holding Yun Jian's hand softly, he walked up the stairs. When Yun Jian was not looking, his lips curled into a smile that was eye-catching. This time, CE did not go to Yun Jian's room. Holding Yun Jian's hand, he went straight to his own room. Applying what one had learned was an effective way to apply it to CE. When Yun Jian reached her room and was about to go in, CE had already pulled her hand and turned to enter his room. "You!" Yun Jian's soft voice was completely blocked behind the door. Once they entered the room, CE held her hand and led her to the bed. It was Yunjian's first time entering Siyi's bedroom. She looked around and saw that the room was decorated in navy blue. It looked rather simple. There was only a big bed in front of them and a long and wide desk beside it. Other than that, there was nothing else. Chapter 638. Ce hugged her from behind, and Yunjian shivered once again. Ce's embrace was very warm. His embrace carried the warmth of a man, and Yunjian's body curled up tightly. Ce made sure to lock the door this time in order to prevent the previous awkward situation from happening again. He hugged her and threw himself onto the big bed. Falling onto Ce's big bed, Yunjian seemed to smell Ce's unique fragrance. It was a faint but pleasant scent. Yunjian was halfway through her sentence when Ce flipped over and hugged Yunjian's slender waist. Sleep. Ce spoke softly. His magnetic voice was like the soft spring rain, giving people a cool and soothing sense of tranquility. Okay. Seeing that Ce was silent, Yunjian spoke up. After that, Ce fell silent. Yunjian lay in Ce's arms, and it was so quiet that she could hear his breathing. Yunjian closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, the scorching sun rose from the east. Although it was a cold winter, it was a new day, and there were already signs of spring coming. When Yunjian woke up, Ce was sitting beside her, watching her. She immediately sat up. After brushing her teeth and washing her face, Yunjian tied her hair into a high ponytail and walked out of the room with Ce. At this moment, Yunjian was wearing a simple set of loose sportswear. She had specially bought this outfit for her morning run. Ce was wearing a white sweater with a black jacket over it. This black jacket accentuated his tall and slender figure. Yunjian and Ce went downstairs together and planned to go for a morning run. As soon as they walked out of the villa, Yunjian and Ce's attention was drawn to the military jeep parked at the entrance. When they turned to look, they saw Gu Junjian sitting in the car. He was waving at Yunjian and Ce. Thinking that there was another mission from the military, Yunjian walked over with a lift of her legs. Who knew that Gu Junjian was waving at Ce? Although Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru had confirmed their relationship, it was not appropriate for him to stay in the villa for the night. After all, this was Dong Ruan's house. This was different from Zhang Meihua's house. Actually, even if Dong Ruan knew that Gu Junjian was staying here, she would not do anything about it. However, Qin Yiru felt that it was inappropriate. Officer Gu, what's wrong? Yunjian asked suspiciously when she saw Gu Junjian waving at Ce. Look at this. It's yours, isn't it? Gu Junjian asked. He was still sitting in the military jeep with the windows down. Gu Junjian took out Ce's silver pistol and told Ce. Ce reached out to take the silver pistol from Gu Junjian. Hey, why did you give the gun to Yiru yesterday? Weren't you afraid that it would go off accidentally? Also, we don't allow guns here. You better hide it well, don't let anyone see it. After Gu Junjian said that to Ce, he laughed heartily and honked the car horn. He then drove off after saying goodbye. He was here to return Ce's pistol. Yunjian was stunned. She did not bring a pistol with her when she was out on a mission. There was not much time to use a gun in the military. As for the butterfly knife, Yunjian always carried it with her. Chapter 639. When Yunjian and Ce returned home from their morning run, Yunjian was already sweating profusely, but she didn't seem to be out of breath at all. It was normal for her to sweat. Ce's physical fitness was obviously much better than Yunjian's. After he finished his run, there were only a few drops of sweat on his forehead. There was no trace of his morning run at all. It was time for breakfast when they arrived home. Gu Junjian, who had gone to the army, was also sitting at the big dining table. There were several bowls of porridge on the table. Other than Yun Yi's portion, everyone had a portion. There was also a small bowl of pickled mustard beside each bowl of porridge. Yunjian was already hungry, so she walked over with Ce. Xiao Zhu, are you done? We can eat now. Qin Yiru shouted towards the bathroom. Xiao Yunju immediately responded, Mother Qin, I'm coming. As he spoke, Xiao Yunju had already washed his hands and was skipping out of the bathroom. Sister, brother Ce. Seeing Yunjian and Ce, Xiao Yunju shouted happily. Children didn't deliberately remember things. Xiao Yunzhu had already forgotten everything that had happened yesterday. At this moment, Xiao Yunzhu had even forgotten that Ce had hit Yun Jian yesterday. He was already skipping over to Ce. Ce naturally wouldn't argue with Xiao Yunzhu about what had happened yesterday. Xiao Yunzhu had simply unconsciously told the truth. Moreover, after what he had said yesterday, Ce's wish had been fulfilled. After all, he had gained Qin Yiru's approval, so he didn't have to be sneaky with Yun Jian anymore. He could boldly lay his hands on his woman now. After being caressed by Ce, Ce reached out and stroked Xiao Yunzhu's short hair. Xiao Yunzhu skipped back to his seat. He picked up his small bowl of porridge and blew at it. Then, he poured some pickled vegetables into the porridge and swallowed them down. Xiao Zhu's school reopens the day after tomorrow. Due to the weather last semester, they didn't have a parent-child sports day. The school's notice says that they'll have a parent-child sports day as soon as school reopens. Xiao Jian, since you're reopening the day after tomorrow and I'll be at work by then, since you're home, Xiao Jian, AE, you two can take part in Xiao Zhu's parent-child sports day on my behalf. Qin Yiru drank a mouthful of porridge and said to Yun Jian and Ce. In fact, Xiao Yunzhu had already told Yun Jian and Ce about it yesterday. Xiao Yunzhu was still sleeping in his room when he suddenly remembered it and rushed to Ce's room. However, he did not find her. It was only later that he went to Yun Jian's room and saw Ce hitting his sister once he entered. He was so scared that he forgot his initial goal. Parent-child sports day? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and took a sip of porridge with a spoon before turning to Qin Yiru and asking with a raised brow. Yeah, it's a sports day for parents and children. Parents compete against each other and children compete against each other. It's an entertainment event, Qin Yiru answered with a nod. Schools nowadays put in a lot of effort for children's health. Events like the Parent-Child Sports Day were held to allow children and parents to get closer to each other. Jia, let's go, let's go. Xiao Yunzhu whined to Yun Jian. Okay. Yun Jian nodded with a smile. Chapter 640. Let your sister accompany you. I have to go out tomorrow and will only be back in a week. Although Ce couldn't bear to reject Xiao Yunzhu, he did have something to attend to and had no other choice. Xiao Yunzhu lowered his head and nodded dejectedly. Oh. I'll bring you some chocolates when I come back. Ce, on the other hand, smiled warmly. His smile was enchanting and it was hard not to like his handsome face. Is it the kind of chocolates you bring back from overseas? The kind that is as soft as water? Yay. Xiao Zhu loves those chocolates the most. Brother Ce is the best. Xiao Yunzhu immediately recovered from his sadness. He even forgot about the incident where Ce hit Yun Jian yesterday. Yun Jian could only smile in her seat. Xiao Yunzhu didn't like to eat chocolates from China. Country Z's chocolates were usually hard, but imported chocolates were smooth and soft. They were not greasy and the taste was just right. Ce had brought some chocolates for Xiao Yunzhu when he came back from the Enhun organization. Xiao Yunzhu still couldn't forget the taste, so when he heard that brother Ce wanted to bring him some chocolates with that flavor, he was even happier. He was even happier than when brother Ce went to his school's sports day. Yay, there's food! Time flew by and in the blink of an eye, the new year was over and the new year was about to begin. The students had just finished their long holidays and were about to return to school. Xiao Yunzhu started school one day earlier than Yun Jian because the Parent-Child Sports Day hadn't been held last year. In order to celebrate the new year, the school held the Parent-Child Sports Day early in the morning. The purpose was to allow the children and their parents to interact more. Ce had already returned to Enhun organization. On Xiao Yunzhu's first day of school, Yun Jian got up early in the morning. She was still wearing the cotton sportswear and her hair was tied up in a high ponytail. She looked very energetic. It was Monday, a new week. There were many cars parked in front of Wuning Elementary School. Most of them were bicycles, and there were also quite a number of motorcycles. However, there were only a few cars. In this era, people who owned cars would often drive their cars to the school gates to show off their wealth and pretentiousness. Yun Jian walked to Wuning Elementary School with Xiao Yunzhu. They didn't even take the bus. Yun Jian simply wanted to help Xiao Yunzhu exercise. However, none of the students who came to Wuning Elementary School walked to school these days. Yunjian was a special case. In addition, Yunjian's clothes were not very fashionable. Although it was a parent-child sports day, who else would wear sportswear other than Yunjian? Which female parent at the scene wasn't dressed up beautifully? The male parents were dressed neatly. They must have picked out the best clothes at home to wear. In a place like Wuning Elementary School, if the school held an event to invite parents, most of the parents would dress up beautifully. Only Yunjian was wearing sportswear without a brand. She held Xiao Yunju's hand and walked to the door of Xiao Yunju's classroom. At the door of Class 1, Yunju ran into the classroom as soon as he reached it. Yunjian stood at the door and looked in through the corridor window. There were already many parents standing in the corridor, all of them dressed beautifully. Chapter 641. The parents who were dressed to the nines liked to group together and point fingers at others. Of course, Yunjian did not mind. There was only one person who was concerned about Yunjian's whereabouts. There was a classmate in Xiao Yunju's class named Wang Ba who had framed Xiao Yunju for stealing his candy. Wang Ba had even asked his mother to seek justice from Yunjian. Xiao Yunju's class teacher had the surname Liu and teacher Liu had helped Wang Ba to speak up against Xiao Yunju. They had only given up after checking the surveillance footage. Wang Ba's mother had asked her husband Wang Wuguei to flaunt his wealth to Yunjian. In the end, it was Ce and Zhang Zhifan who was managing new crews on behalf of Yunjian who stepped in. Wang Ba's mother was so shocked that she was speechless. This time, Xiao Yunju's class was having a family sports day and Wang Ba's mother was there too. As for Wang Ba's father, Wang Wuguei, he could not come because the company had officially started work. Of course, Yunjian's appearance made Wang Ba's mother who was flaunting to the parents in the corner who knew each other pause. She was a little afraid of Yunjian's arrival. Back then, Yunjian had already scared Wang Ba's mother half to death when she swung her butterfly knife a few times. Especially when she found out that Yunjian was New Cruise's director. Wang Ba's mother who was standing in the corner had already gulped a few times. Wang Ba's mother, what's wrong? Is there something over there? A woman in her 30s or 40s who was a full-time rich wife like Wang Ba's mother waved her hand in front of Wang Ba's mother who was stunned. She was dressed like a young lady in her 20s. And nothing. Wang Ba's mother snapped back to her senses from Yunjian and shuddered. Yunjian was New Cruise's director and she was here. She was here for the family sports day. Wang Ba's mother was reprimanded by her husband, Wang Wuguei. If she were to meet Yunjian in the future, she must not offend her. Wang Ba's mother was a little afraid now. Wang Ba's mother. You were looking at that little girl over there, right? TSK. I really don't know whose parent she is. She's dressed so shabbily, yet she still has the nerve to participate in the parent-child sports day. The woman in the fancy dress looked at Yunjian and complained. After that, the woman in the fancy dress glanced at Wang Ba's mother and asked, Wang Ba's mother, don't you think so? The woman's words made Wang Ba's mother shiver. What a joke. How could he say that the chairman of New Cruise was dressed shabbily? If she didn't know Yunjian's identity, Wang Ba's mother would have agreed with the woman in the fancy dress. But now, she didn't dare to say anything. I'm going to the toilet. You guys talk. Wang Ba's mother found an excuse and hurried to the toilet. Coincidentally, she also avoided the topic. Really? You don't know what's good for you. Do you think you're so powerful? A woman in a fancy dress sneered as she walked towards Wang Ba's mother. By then, Wang Ba's mother had already left. The woman in the fancy dress was called Ding Yin. She was the mother of one of Xiao Yunju's female classmates. At the same time, she was a stay-at-home wife like Wang Ba's mother. Chapter 642. A female parent like Ding Yin, who was dressed to the nines, naturally had to chat with other parents. Even without Wang Ba's mother, she could still find new companions and chat with them with similar interests. Yunjian was standing by the corridor outside Xiao Yunju's classroom window. She watched as Xiao Yunju sat neatly in the front row and listened to their homeroom teacher, Miss Liu. The new year had just started, so the homeroom teacher naturally had a lot to say. This meant that the parents present would have to wait for a while. It was already 8 in the morning when Yunjian brought Xiao Yunju to the classroom. It was 8:30 now. The teacher spoke for half an hour about the things to take note of when school reopens, including the collection of winter vacation homework. Xiao Yunzhu was well behaved throughout the winter vacation. He had already completed his homework, so he was rather confident when the teacher collected his homework. After collecting the homework, the teacher spoke a little more about school reopening before she stood on the podium in Xiao Yunzhu's classroom and announced the official start of the Parent-Child Sports Day. Xiao Yunzhu and the rest of his classmates cheered excitedly when they heard the announcement. For a moment, cheers like, "Yay yay yay," and "That's great," filled the entire building. Wuxia Elementary School was a school that placed emphasis on the students' physical health. The school placed more emphasis on the interaction between parents and children. Therefore, the school often held activities like the Parent-Child Sports Day. Now, may the parents standing at the door please enter the classroom. I'll talk about the rules of the sports day. Miss Lu opened the classroom door and shouted at the parents in the corridor. Hearing the teacher's words, the parents in the corridor entered the classroom one after another and stood beside their children's seats. Once the parents entered the classroom immediately became noisy. The homeroom teacher, Miss Lu, stood on the podium and slammed the table as she shouted, "Quiet! Quiet down and listen to me." As soon as she finished speaking, she saw a familiar figure. Yun Jian walked in from outside the classroom. She walked straight to Xiao Yunzhu's seat and stood not far from the podium. Looking at Yun Jian, Teacher Lu couldn't help but recall how she had misunderstood Yunzhu and helped Wang Ba to scold Yunzhu. Later, he even went to Yunzhu's sister, Yun Jian, to badmouth Yunzhu. In the end, the misunderstanding was cleared up. It turned out that Wang Ba had bullied Yunzhu. And the way Yun Jian swung the butterfly knife in front of him. At the thought of this, Teacher Lu couldn't help but tremble. She actually came too. "Sister!" Xiao Yunzhu shouted happily when he saw Yun Jian walking into the classroom. Then, he obediently folded his hands and placed them neatly on the desk as he watched the teacher speak. "Hee, you're Yunzhu's sister? Hello, big sister. You're so pretty." Sitting next to Yunzhu was a pretty little girl who looked like a doll. She praised Yun Jian when she saw her and giggled at the same time. "Thank you, you're pretty too." Yun Jian nodded slightly. "Big sister, I'm Yunzhu's deskmate. My name is Duan Li. Everyone calls me Chestnut. You can call me Chestnut too. Nice to meet you." The girl who called herself Duan Li introduced herself to Yun Jian politely. Chapter 643. Xiao Yunzhu turned around and looked at Duan Li happily. Of course. After that, no one spoke because Teacher Lu, who was standing on the podium, had already started speaking. The competition will start at 9 o'clock sharp. I took a look at the students in our class. Basically, most of their parents have already arrived. If there are students whose parents have something to do and can't come, then stay in our class's sports field and don't run around. Teacher Lu had already started speaking. After pausing for a moment, she continued, "Only the first and second grade children will be participating in this sports meet. There are a total of 10 classes, and when the ranking comes out, it will be the total score of the first and second grades. This time, the parent-child sports meet will be ranked according to the score of each class. Of course, we'll also select the 3 students and their parents with the highest scores from the first and second grades. We'll also select the first, second, and third grades. When the time comes, we'll award the students with a certificate. Of course, it's more difficult to win among the students in the second grade, so we'll just have to try our best." Teacher Lu stood on the podium and arranged all the events and rules of the competition. The sports meet held by Wuxia Elementary School was not targeted at the entire school. The third graders, including the third graders and above, were rather old. Therefore, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth graders would have other sports meets. Since Wuxia Elementary School had better settings, it was dangerous for the first and second graders to participate in sports meets without their parents. With that in mind, the school purposely held a sports meet. In other words, the parents and children would participate in the sports meet together. Actually, most of the things that Ms. Lu said on the podium were ignored by both the parents and the students. Therefore, when it was 9 p.m. and the school broadcast the sports meet march, Ms. Lu clapped her hands and signaled the students to line up at the entrance. The parents followed the students all the way to the school field. Wuxia Elementary School's field was a short distance away from the school building, but if they walked from here, they would be able to walk around the surrounding buildings, so it was quite close. Wuxia Elementary School's field was huge. It looked endless, but it was actually just a standard 400 track. Most schools did not have plastic tracks at this time. They had primitive gravel tracks. As for the circles around the field, they were surrounded by protruding cement stones. However, they would not trip when one stepped on them. These things were only used to allow runners to see the size of the field and where the bends began and ended. However, the running track was indeed a standard 400 track. It was measured by the people who built the track. Teacher Lu led the students to a corner of the field where the running track would not be blocked. The field was covered in grass. There was a light drizzle in the morning, so there was still some dew on the grass. Some parents saw their children about to sit on the grass, so they ran over to stop them. In their eyes, the lawn was very dirty. It had rained in the morning, so the ground was full of muddy water. Although it wasn't much, it would dirty their clothes. If her clothes got dirty, she would look even more inferior than others. Yun Jian went over and plopped down beside Yun Zhu. Chapter 644. Yun Jian, who was sitting on the lawn, naturally heard Ding Yin's words. She just felt strange. She didn't seem to have offended anyone, did she? Yun Jian only treated Ding Yin's words as wind that went in one ear and out the other. It didn't affect her at all. Sit down, children, sit down. Teacher Lu kept shouting, but the parents were indifferent. Some parents even pulled their children to prevent them from sitting on the lawn. There were no proper stools for them to sit on, but they had to sit on the lawn. In the eyes of some parents, this was a way to lower their status. Whether it was in this era or the modern era, there was a concept of wealth. Some people made friends not for friendship, but for money. Of course, there were people who made real friends, but it wasn't common. Ding Yin was holding a little girl in a doll costume. Although the little girl's appearance wasn't bad, she was as vain as Ding Yin. Her head was full of little braids. Isn't that so? How come the school nowadays dares to accept just anyone? Standing beside Ding Yin, a woman who was also holding a little girl in her hand said to Ding Yin with a flirtatious tone. This woman was actually the same age as Ding Yin, but she looked much older. After all, Ding Yin wasn't bad looking, but compared to Yun Jian, Ding Yin's appearance was probably a lot worse. This woman flirted with Ding Yin because she knew Ding Yin, and Ding Yin's husband was her superior. Even if it was a flirtatious tone, Ding Yin felt very good. Not long after Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju sat down, Duanli walked over with her slender short legs. She also sat directly next to Xiao Yunju and said to Yun Jian, "Little sister, I have nowhere to go. Can I join you?" "Sure, sit down. My sister is very nice." Before Yun Jian could say anything, Xiao Yunju took the initiative to invite Duanli to sit next to him. Children were the most enthusiastic when they played with each other. Soon, Xiao Yunju and Duanli started chatting. Yun Jian didn't think it was a bad idea. After all, children were the best companions in terms of age. "Yunju, I really envy you. You have such a nice sister." Duanli pouted. She held a small wooden stick in her hand and slid it on the ground. "My sister is really good to me, and so is Brother Ce, Mother Qin, Uncle Gu. They're all very, very good to me. All right, if there's a chance next time, I'll definitely let you meet my big brother Ce." Xiao Yunju said happily. "Sure, sure." Duanli let out a big grin when she heard that. Students who are not accompanied by their parents, please do not leave your sports field. Now, students who are accompanied by their parents, please follow your parents to line up here. The sports meet is about to begin. Teacher Lu stood up and clapped her hands as she spoke to the students. "Chestnut, let's go line up," Xiao Yunju said as he stood up. Yun Jian also stood up. Duanli sat on the grass. When she heard Xiao Yunju's words, she suddenly lowered her head. At this moment, Yun Jian suddenly realized that Duanli didn't have any parents accompanying her. "My dad, he won't come." Duanli lowered her head. She forced herself to raise her head and said to Xiao Yunju, "You guys go. I'll be here cheering for you." Xiao Yunju was silent for 2 seconds. Although he was also a child, he could feel something. Chapter 645. What about you, Yunju? Duanli was overjoyed, but then she thought about what would happen to Yunju if his sister went with her. "I'm a man. It's okay if I don't go." You go. Chestnut, I'll cheer for you at the finish line. Xiao Yunju looked at Duanli and said generously. But Duanli's doll-like eyes were about to burst into tears. She was touched, but she didn't dare to accept it. It's okay, little Zhu has grown up. It's the same if I go with you. Yunjian couldn't help but rub Duanli's head. She had to admit that even though it was her first time meeting Duanli, she was filled with joy. Thank you, Yunju, and thank you too, big sister. Duanli rubbed her eyes that were about to burst into tears. She accepted the kindness happily. For Duanli, she hadn't had any parental love since kindergarten. Her mother had passed away, and her father was an alcoholic who drank every day. She also had a 6-year-old sister who was in kindergarten. Therefore, Duanli had been very obedient since she was young, because she had to take care of her sister. However, her father liked to beat her and her sister whenever he drank. Little Duanli had never experienced a father's love. She was only 7 or 8 years old, but she was very obedient and took care of her sister. Sometimes, her father would beat her half to death when he was drunk. As for the school activities that required parents to come, Duanli's father never attended, so she didn't ask for it. If it weren't for the relevant department forcing Duanli's father to send Duanli back to school, Duanli wouldn't be here now. Therefore, when Xiao Yunju said that he would give his sister to her and let his sister accompany her to the competition, Duanli was very eager but didn't dare to accept his kindness. However, under the persuasion of Xiao Yunju and Yunjian, Duanli accepted Yunjian's kindness. Little Zhu, tell the teacher that I'm going to the washroom. Your sister Lan Su is nearby. I'll make a call to see if your sister Lan Su can rush over. Yunjian suddenly remembered that Lan Su lived near Wuning Elementary School, so she spoke to Xiao Yunju. Is Sister Lan Su nearby? Could he make it in time? If Sister Lan Su comes, then you can go with Chestnut, and Sister Lan Su can go with me. In that case, both of us can take part in the sports meeting. Xiao Yunju said to Yunjian with his round eyes. Yes. Yunjian nodded and patted Yunju's head. She instructed Yunju and Duanli to stay where they were and not run away while she walked towards the washroom. The reason why he went to the toilet was because he thought that if he made a phone call in the noisy sports field, the sound of the phone would probably be covered. After all, phones in this era weren't as convenient as modern phones. After making the call in the washroom and washing her hands, Yunjian came out of the washroom and saw Xiao Yunju waving at her from afar. Sister, the sports meeting is going to start soon. Is Sister Lan Su coming? Xiao Yunju asked urgently. In fact, Xiao Yunju also wanted to take part in the competition. She should take around 10 minutes to get here, Yunjian said, then added, there's still time. At this moment, Ding Yin's child, who was standing in the distance, walked over while Ding Yin was chatting with the other parents. It was this fashionable little girl with many small braids on her head. Chapter 646. The girl was Ding Yin's daughter, Tian Pei. Tian Pei was just like Ding Yin, snobbish since young. In Class 1, which was Yunju's class, Wang Ba's family was the only one who was better off than Yunju's. Tian Pei had been taught by Ding Yin to play with the kids from rich families since she was young. Otherwise, she would not have pretty clothes to wear or pretty braids to tie. Tian Pei was scared, so she listened to her mother's words and played with the other students in her class who had good grades. Wang Ba loved to brag, so Tian Pei had been on good terms with him since young. Before Wang Ba snatched Xiao Yunju's candy, Tian Pei had been helping him bully Xiao Yunju in all sorts of ways. After Wang Ba snatched Xiao Yunju's candy, Ms. Lu went to Yunjian to criticize Yunju. Wang Ba's mother also scolded Yunju in front of Yunjian. In the end, they found out from the surveillance that Wang Ba had lied. After being threatened by Yunjian, Wang Ba realized that even his mother was not helping him. Wang Ba did not know what it meant to be the chairman of new crews. Kids at his age had fewer concerns, only knowing that he was being bullied. Therefore, Wang Ba joined forces with a group of kids to mock Xiao Yunju from time to time. Tian Pei was the one who helped Wang Ba to bully Xiao Yunju. However, Xiao Yunju was not a pushover. After being scolded for a long time, Xiao Yunju did not take their words seriously. However, this time, Tian Pei came over directly to scold Yunjian. This girl who was dressed rather prettily was speaking so blatantly to her younger brother the moment she came to her. Was she not exposing Yunju's shortcomings? Yunjian immediately shielded Xiao Yunju and Duanli behind her. She then glared at Tianpei coldly and said, "Get lost." Yunjian did not want to say a single word more to him. As the saying went, like parents like children. Yunjian had never been the kind of person who liked to meddle in other people's business, but she couldn't stand by and watch her people bully her brother. Yunju was her younger brother whom she had finally found after much difficulty. He meant a lot to her, so she would not allow anyone to bully him. You shameless woman. Humph. You're the one who bullied Wang Ba. He's already told me. Just you wait. Mom and I will definitely win the competition later. When the time comes, I'll be waiting for you to cry and beg us. Tianpei was really shocked by Yunjian. However, Tianpei was a little girl with a lot of guts. She came back this time purely to show off her power to Yunjian. As soon as she finished speaking, Tianpei was so frightened that she ran back into her mother's arms. Yunjian just thought it was ridiculous. Sister, don't be angry. Just pretend that they don't exist. Xiao Yunju reached out and pulled Yunjian's sleeve. Sister isn't angry. Yunjian's mood improved slightly when she saw Xiao Yunju. Just as Xiao Yunju was obediently letting Yunjian stroke his head, he suddenly pointed at the entrance of the field and exclaimed, Sister, isn't that Brother Adam? Yunjian turned her head and saw that Adam, who was wearing a cool black top and denim pants, had also seen them and was walking over. Yunjian was a little surprised. Adam walked up to Yunjian quietly and said to Yunjian softly, Young madam, young master asked me to come over. He can't leave right now, so he asked me to come over and listen to your instructions. Ce couldn't come over herself, so she asked Adam to come over and see if he could help. Ding Yin, who was watching from afar, watched the handsome Adam walk up to Yunjian. She was still wondering how Yunjian knew this seemingly rich Adam when another young girl rushed in from the entrance of the field. This young woman's clothes were conservative, but her hair was scattered around her head. Chapter 647. Lan Su went around Adam to stand in front of Yunjian. Lan Su was tall to begin with. She was half a head taller than Yunjian, about 1.7 meters tall. Lan Su was dressed in black from head to toe, exuding an indescribable sense of beauty. Yunjian's beauty was different from Lan Su's. Lan Su was tall with a hint of coolness while Yunjian was delicate and delicate. If one were to compare them closely, Yunjian's beauty seemed to be a cut above Lan Su's. Lan Su stood in front of Adam, blocking his gaze to Yunjian. Adam was 1.8 meters tall. He wasn't considered short among men, but because Lan Su was rather tall, she happened to block Adam's view. Adam, who stood behind Lan Su, wondered, where did this woman come from? Adam, on the other hand, only needed to follow Yunjian's instructions. Yunjian explained to Lan Su that she was sent here to participate in the Parent-Child Sports Day. Yunjian also asked Lan Su to bring Xiao Yunju to the competition while she went with Duanli. In fact, Yunjian did not expect Adam to be sent here by Ce. Young mistress, let me take her place in Xiao Zhu's sports day, Adam stood up and said to Yunjian. He was referring to Lan Su. Adam and Mo Sen had been in Longmen City for some time. When Ce was in Longmen City, they were here as well. Adam and Mo Sen knew Xiao Yunju as well. When Xiao Yunju was not in school, it was Adam and Mo Sen who played with Xiao Yunju. It was hard to imagine, but it was the truth. Okay. If Ce, Gij can't join the competition, Adam, Gij can join me. Xiao Yunju was not close to Lan Su, so Xiao Yunju was on Adam's side. Yunjian thought it was a good idea. Lan Su was from Yulong mainland after all, and Lan Su had never participated in such a competition before. After all, to Lan Su, everything in this world was new and interesting. Since Adam could bring Xiao Yunju to the competition, there was no difference between a man and a woman. That's great, Chestnut. Both of us can join the sports day. Xiao Yunju turned to tell Duanli happily. Thank you, Yunju. Duanli was delighted as well. Teacher Lu, who was gathering the crowd from afar, shouted again, Yunju's parents, please bring your classmates and line up here. Our first event to toe. Teacher Lu shouted from afar. Lan Su stood in place and said to Yunjian, Yunjian, I'll wait for you here. Yun Jian nodded and pulled the two lively children, Xiao Yunju and Duan Li, towards the teachers. Adam glanced at Lan Su with a squint from the side before he went to Yun Jian. The first event was a competition of physical strength, commonly known as running. However, the events of the parent-child race were different. Usually, people ran straight away. The rule of the first event was that parents had to run with their children. Xiao Yunju's class was in the first grade. There were 5 classes in the first grade. The number of parents in each class was not large. Most of the parents could not participate in the parent-child sports day because of work. Xiao Yunju's class had basically all the parents in the class. This was a special case. The first event was for parents to carry their children and run 400 meters back to the finish line as soon as the whistle sounded. All the parents in the first grade from the 5 classes ran together. The final ranking was announced. When all the parents in the first grade stood at the starting point and carried their children, they were a little nervous. After all, they had graduated for so many years and had not exercised like they did when they were students for a long time. Only Yun Jian was carrying Duan Li and Adam was carrying Xiao Yunju. They were not nervous at all. Chapter 648. In front of a group of rich ladies, Ding Yin was considered a respectable person. Even Wang Ba's mother was not as respectable as her. Ding Yin's husband was a high-ranking official, so it was very useful for these rich ladies to make friends with Ding Yin. Therefore, Ding Yin was quite confident in front of a group of rich ladies. Being praised by the rich lady next to her, even a group of parents who didn't know her turned to look at Ding Yin. Ding Yin was even more confident, but she looked at Yun Jian with disdain. Then, Ding Yin replied confidently, as if she didn't treat the rich lady who was trying to be nice to her as a human being. It's okay. It's a marathon. Isn't it all about perseverance? The 400-meter dash is different. It requires physical strength to sprint all the way. What Ding Yin said was true, but the way she said it made the people around her unhappy. However, no one bothered to argue with Ding Yin or talk to her again. Of course, they didn't exclude the rich lady from just now. The rich lady who spoke just now obviously wanted to curry favor with Ding Yin, so she said again, I can't even carry a child. Sigh, I can't even run anymore. Now that I'm carrying a child, I can't even run anymore. But for a competition like this, I don't want to be ranked. Ding Yin, I think you can do it. Don't you work out in that gym every day? I think there's no doubt that you'll be the first place today. I guarantee it'll be you. The rich lady simply wanted to curry favor with Ding Yin, so she told her that Ding Yin worked out in the gym. Parents in this era like to compare themselves. And in this era where the average income was not particularly high, people who could spend money to work out in the gym were symbols of the rich. It's my first time running with a child in my arms, but it's more than enough for me to compete with ordinary people. Ding Yin smiled slightly. She didn't have the slightest bit of modesty. Instead, she had the intention to show off. Most of the people present were disgusted by her words. Even the rich lady didn't say anything after that. The 400-meter dash was more tiring than the 800-meter dash, because the 400-meter dash was considered a sprint. A 400-meter dash required sprinting all the way. Even a normal 400-meter dash was very tiring, let alone carrying a child. Of course, the school did not require speed. Everyone present was a parent, and it was entirely up to them whether they wanted to run fast or slow. Of course, there was no lack of male parents who insisted on driving the whole team to speed up in order to show off. Parents, please get ready. When the whistle blows, the competition will begin. A teacher standing at the front of the group whistled and waited for the parents to quiet down before speaking up. At this time, every parent and the child in their arms had a sports number tag hanging on their chest. Hearing the referee's words, the parent standing in place became a little nervous. Yun Jian was carrying Duan Li, Adam was carrying Xiao Yunju, and Adam was standing at the side. At this moment, Yun Jian and Adam didn't even have the slightest bit of fear in their hearts. Although Ding Yin spoke well, she was still very flustered in her heart. Everyone, get ready. Shoo. As soon as the referee blew the whistle, the parents standing at the starting line rushed out with their children in their arms. In fact, such an event was quite interesting in everyone's eyes. Therefore, under the tense atmosphere, everyone ran with all their might. The 400-meter dash wasn't suitable for jogging at the beginning. Therefore, All the parents strode forward with all their might. Ding Yin rushed to the front with her daughter, Tian Pei, in her arms. She was smug that she ran faster than some of the male parents. But in the next second, Ding Yin suddenly felt a figure overtake her like a bolt of lightning, rushing forward as fast as the wind. The teachers who were watching from the starting line were also shocked by the thin figure who suddenly overtook everyone and ran at the front. Chapter 649. Mom, they overtook us. Run. Hurry. After being overtaken by Yun Jian, Ding Yin's daughter, Tian Pei, couldn't accept it. Tian Pei buried herself in her mother's arms and struggled with all her might. Ding Yin herself wasn't convinced either. Hence, without Tian Pei's reminder, Ding Yin ran with all her might. However, the more she ran, the more strenuous it became. The further she ran, the greater the gravity on her feet. Before Ding Yin could regain her senses, another figure overtook her. Adam didn't run with all his might at first. He was carrying Xiao Yunju, so it could be considered easy. However, after Adam overtook Ding Yin, he began to chase after Yun Jian. However, Adam didn't dare to overtake Yun Jian. He only followed behind Yun Jian. What a joke! If the news of him overtaking young madam were to spread to his young master one day, he would be killed. Moreover, if Adam really wanted to overtake Yun Jian, he felt that he couldn't because Yun Jian's running speed was abnormally fast. The sun shone down diagonally. The morning sunlight was very abundant. However, this 400-meter track seemed to be opened only for Yun Jian and Adam. Ding Yin ran with more and more difficulty. She gradually slowed down. Although she worked out in the gym all year round, Ding Yin's physical strength didn't increase. She might be a little stronger than some male parents, but her physical strength couldn't compare to Yun Jian and Adam. Seeing that Adam overtook her with Yun Zhu in his arms, Tian Pei's missy temper immediately flared up. Ever since she was young, she had everything. She could get whatever she wanted. There was never anything that Tian Pei couldn't get. Moreover, after playing with Wang Ba for a long time, their personalities were more similar. Tian Pei started to throw a tantrum when she saw Adam carrying Xiao Yunju and easily catching up to Yun Jian. Tian Pei was held in Ding Yin's arms. She struggled desperately and cried, "No, I don't want to, I don't want to, I want to be first, I want to be first, I don't want to be overtaken by Yunju. I don't want to, I don't want to. Mom, hurry up, hurry up." As she spoke, Tian Pei used her sharp fingernails to grab Ding Yin's clothes. Ding Yin had been bragging at the beginning, but now that she had been surpassed by Yun Jian and Adam, her mood was already very complicated. In the end, when Tian Pei made such a fuss in her arms, Ding Yin's mood immediately worsened. "Tian Pei! Stop right there! Stop messing around!" Ding Yin immediately roared at Tian Pei. Tian Pei, who was startled by the roar, started to make a scene even more fiercely. Tian Pei had the personality of a rich young lady. At the same time, she was also very stubborn. Therefore, she hit and made a scene at Ding Yin. She did not care about her mother's ability at all. She was determined to achieve her goal. Ding Yin was originally still running, but when Tian Pei made such a fuss, she immediately became irritated. Moreover, Ding Yin was already very tired at this time. Her running speed became slower and slower, to the point that she was overtaken by countless male parents carrying their children. At this moment, Yun Jian and Adam had already rushed towards the finish line with Duan Li and Xiao Yunju in their arms. Upon closer inspection, there was not even a single drop of sweat on Yun Jian and Adam's faces. Duan Li and Xiao Yunju were very happy. They held hands and jumped in circles, shouting, "We won!" and other things like that. Yun Jian only smiled slightly. As for Ding Yin, when she reached the finish line while arguing with her daughter, she was already in the 20th place. As a result, the words that Ding Yin had boasted in front of all the parents were instantly proven true. Many parents hid in a corner and secretly laughed at her. Chapter 650. After the parents of the second graders finished competing, the first segment of the competition ended and the morning competition came to an end. After the morning competition ended, Yun Jian, Lan Su, and Adam went to a nearby noodle restaurant for lunch. They ordered a bowl of pickled vegetable ramen. The pickled vegetable ramen was delicious. After Yun Jian and the other two finished their lunch and returned to Wuning E Elementary School, the afternoon competition began. Xiao Yunju and the others had lunch at school. There were 3 major competitions for the Parent and Child Sports Day. The first was the Parent and Child Sports Day, where the parents carried their children as they ran. This competition ended in the morning. The second competition had nothing to do with the parents. The second competition was between the students themselves. The third competition was between the parents and the other parents. The second competition was open to all students and the parents could watch from the side. For this competition, there was a 20-meter distance. The students would jump back and forth using frog jumps to see who was faster and who scored higher. The scores were all calculated by the school, so it was absolutely fair. Yun Jian brought Xiao Yunju and Duan Li to the queue to wait. Because the frog jumps were open to all students and only a few students' scores could be registered at a time, it was more time-consuming. Therefore, the third competition for the parents was also held at the same time. Yun Jian brought Xiao Yunju and Duan Li to the second round of frog jumps to register. Xiao Yunju and Duan Li said that they did not need her to accompany them. At this moment, Yun Jian turned around and went to the third round of parent competitions with Adam. The afternoon sun was scorching. Lan Su was holding an umbrella and was sitting on the lawn looking into the distance. As she looked around, she spotted Yun Jian out of the blue and broke into a smile with her usual icy face. At this moment, Yun Jian had already walked forward. At the place where Lan Su was looking, Adam's figure appeared. She moved away without a trace. Xiao Yunju and Duan Li were standing beside a flower bed, waiting for the teacher to register. Both of them had sports number tags on their chests. At this moment, there were still many students in front of them who were participating in the frog jump. Xiao Yunju and Duan Li listened to Yun Jian's words and held hands so that they wouldn't get separated. Duan Li blinked her adorable eyes. She stole a glance at Xiao Yunju and said, "Yunju, that man is so beautiful. Is he the CE you were talking about?" Children would ask whatever they thought of. Even though Xiao Yunju had called out to Adam as Big Brother Adam when they first met, Duan Li definitely wouldn't intentionally remember it. No, Big Brother CE is even better looking than Big Brother Adam. When Big Brother CE comes back, I'll definitely let you meet him, Xiao Yunju said. Duan Li blinked and nodded. At this moment, a beautifully dressed girl with many small braids on her head walked over. When the girl walked over, she walked up to Duan Li without saying a word. She reached out and pushed Duan Li to the ground. Duan Li and Xiao Yunju were originally holding hands because of Yun Jian's words. However, when the girl pushed Duan Li, she fell and their hands broke. "What are you doing?" Xiao Yunju looked at Tian Pei, who had suddenly appeared in front of him. He suddenly felt a surge of anger and roared at Tian Pei. "Humph, who told you to beat me? You deserve it." Tian Pei spat at Xiao Yunju. Then, she scolded Duan Li, "You pitiful worm without a mother. You can only rely on others to win. Shame on you. Shameless." Tian Pei knew that she couldn't beat Yunju. Even Wang Ba from their class couldn't beat Yunju. Therefore, Tian Pei pushed Duan Li, who was closer to Yunju, away. Hearing Tian Pei's words, Duan Li lowered her head. Chapter 651. When Tian Pei was pushed to the ground by Xiao Yunju, she immediately started wailing. Tian Pei was a strong-willed girl. She didn't cry and just kept screaming. However, no one paid her any attention. Even the teachers didn't dare to step forward. Some of them pretended not to see Tian Pei screaming. After all, it was fine as long as the child didn't cry. The reason why the teachers didn't dare to step forward was because they had all seen what had happened during the competition. Tian Pei had yelled and screamed in her mother's arms when she hadn't gotten first place. She had even hit her own mother. To the teachers, this kind of student was the scariest. After all, if such a student went over to help, she might not be able to explain herself and might even hit the teachers. Xiao Yunju snorted at Tian Pei, who was pushed to the ground by him. He walked over to hold her hand and continued to line up. Xiao Yunju was actually quite strong. Back then, Wang Ba had a strong body and asked Xiao Yunju for candy. Later, Xiao Yunju refused to give it to him and Wang Ba snatched it from him. In the end, Xiao Yunju pushed Wang Ba's fat body to the ground. Xiao Yunju was quite strong. Seeing that Yun Zhu pushed her down and left, Tian Pei stopped yelling and could only get up on her own to join the queue with her tail between her legs. Yun Jian and Adam arrived at the venue of the third event. The three events set up by Wuning E Elementary School were very interesting. The first event was a parent-child run. Parents and children participated in it together. The second event was a frog jumping competition between children and children. The third event was a hula hoop competition. This event was specifically targeted at parents. The school's intention was that as long as the children's competition was complete, the parents' entertainment couldn't be neglected. Moreover, this sports meet was prepared for the children and parents. Of course, it should be as fun as possible. Yun Jian and Adam soon arrived at the venue of the third event. It was only when they arrived at the venue of the third event that Yun Jian and Adam realized that the third event was hula hooping. Yun Jian pursed her lips. She had learned a lot of things in her previous life, but she had never spun a hula hoop before. Although Yun Jian knew how to play with hula hoops, she had never touched one before. To be honest, she didn't care about the kosher mercenaries and came to this place to play hula hoop. If Snake, Lizard and the others knew about this, their jaws would probably fall off from laughing. Adam looked at the row of prepared hula hoops, pointed at himself and asked Yun Jian, young madam this. Can I get her to spin this for me? He didn't know what Lan Su was called, so he could only use she instead. No. Yun Jian cast a sidelong glance at Adam and immediately rejected his words. What a joke. Asking Lan Su to spin the hula hoop. Lan Su came from the Yulong mainland. She probably didn't even know what a hula hoop was. How could she spin it? Adam swallowed his saliva, but he could only listen to Yun Jian. He didn't forget how young master instructed him to listen to young madam's arrangements. If he dared to disobey, he would be waiting for the cruelest punishment from an Hun organization. Yun Jian and Adam each picked up a hula hoop. Ding Yin, who was standing not far away, happened to see this scene. She could tell at a glance that it was Yun Jian and Adam's first time playing this. Therefore, before the competition started, Ding Yin walked over. As she walked, she sneered at Yun Jian and Adam. Yo, is this your first time playing this? That's a pity. But coincidentally, I know how to play this and I'm very familiar with it. Why don't I teach you? Chapter 652. While Ding Yin was speaking, Adam had already put the hoop on his head awkwardly. He put it down and hung it on his waist. This scene was strange no matter how one looked at it. As one of the 4 leaders of the Hun organization, Adam, who could intimidate a large group of businessmen and politicians and make countless people bow down to him, was actually playing hula hoops here. If this were to be spread out, it would probably make others laugh until their teeth fell off. We don't know each other well. Yun Jian glared at Ding Yin. She knew Ding Yin's motive. She wanted to see her make a fool of herself. Ding Yin had been watching her for a long time. If she couldn't see through Ding Yin's eyes, then her years as a secret agent in her previous life would have been for nothing. Ding Yin sneered at Yun Jian in her heart when she heard Yun Jian's words. However, she still had a smile on her face. Don't be like this. We're all classmates. I'm just helping you. You don't know how to play this. This is how it should be played. As she spoke, Ding Yin took the hula hoop off her head and placed it on her waist with one hand. Then, Ding Yin grabbed the hoop with both hands. She suddenly let go and her waist started spinning with the hoop. Like this. Just spin it. Follow me, Ding Yin said in a disdainful tone. Then, she glanced at Yun Jian from the side and said in disdain. Ding Yin's figure wasn't particularly slender. After giving birth, her figure had grown even more out of shape. Therefore, the way Ding Yin spun the hoop looked like she was secretly laughing. After all, the competition hadn't started yet. She was already spinning the hoop. Yun Jian found it funny, but she didn't say it out loud. Parents, the competition is about to start. Please get ready. The teacher said. The competition was about to start. Xiao Yunju's parents were all ready. Because there was a limited number of hula hoop, the competition was a competition between the parents of each class. Of course, the final result would depend on who spun the most hoop. After Ding Yin was done showing off, she walked back to her place. She was about to turn into a hula hoop. Yun Jian held the hula hoop with one hand. She stood still and did not move. When the teachers confirmed the parents' sports number tags again, The competition was about to begin. At this time, Yun Jian grabbed the hula hoop and planned to put it on her head and waist like Adam, who had put it on his head and waist early in the morning. However, just as she raised the hula hoop, before her hand could put it on her head, suddenly, Yun Jian heard a soft chi sound from afar. What a familiar voice. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Adam was about to grab the hula hoop, but at the same time, he felt that something was wrong. The parents standing at the side did what they were supposed to do as usual. Not long after Yun Jian heard the soft sound, she suddenly raised the hula hoop in her hand and threw it into the air. The hula hoop seemed to be used as a shield by Yun Jian. She swung the hula hoop very hard, but controlled it so that it did not hit the people around her. Ding Yin was standing on Yun Jian's left. She screamed when Yun Jian raised the hula hoop in the air. Ding Yin reacted quickly. She screamed and scolded Yun Jian loudly. Why did you raise the hula hoop all of a sudden? Are you trying to scare me to death? Ding Yin's round hoop attracted the attention of all the parents around her. Just as Ding Yin finished speaking, a loud chi sound was heard. With a swoosh, a bullet that was hit by the hula hoop and stopped in its tracks fell in front of Yun Jian. This scene was seen by many parents. Ding Yin also happened to see this scene. Then there was a dead silence. Everyone's heart sank. Yun Jian's red lips moved slightly. There's a sniper. Run. Chapter 653. Although Yun Jian had been reborn, she was now in frequent contact with the organizations from her previous life. She had even appeared to exterminate the Inferno Ring. As a result, her current identity might have attracted a lot of attention. She didn't expect to encounter a sniper here. After all, this was a public place. However, she couldn't rule out the possibility that some assassins and secret agents would deliberately kill people in public to clear their names. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her reaction was the fastest. When they heard that there was a sniper, the parents standing in the distance didn't react. Even the group of parents standing near Yun Jian, including Ding Yin, hadn't recovered from the shock. Sniper? To them, snipers were people who didn't have anything to do with their lives. To most ordinary people, assassins, secret agents, mercenaries, and special forces were all existences that were very far away from them. Perhaps in comparison, the existence of special forces was more relevant to their lives. Therefore, when Yun Jian's words came out, most of the parents present, including the teachers, looked at the scene in front of them with confused expressions. It wasn't until Yun Jian's voice came out again that most of the parents present came back to their senses. Run. If you don't want to die, find a place to hide. The word die rang the alarm bells of everyone present. Ah! At this time, the crowd was replaced by screams. Some of the parents with quick reactions didn't even verify whether it was true or not. They ran to the competition area where their children were at, grabbed their children, and hid. As for Ding Yin, who was slower to react, she stood there stupidly. She was so scared that she couldn't even lift her feet. Her legs were weak. What's going on? What's going on? There were still some teachers who hadn't sensed any danger at the scene. At this moment, they were rushing over righteously. They're going to kill someone. There's a gun. There's a bullet. Some parents ran past the teachers who were rushing over, shouting as they ran. When the words of the parents reached the ears of the teachers, they were so scared that their faces turned pale. At this time, the teachers looked straight ahead and saw Yun Jian standing there with a bullet in her hand. It was said that rumors were the scariest. The truth could be said to be false, and the false could be said to be true. Regardless of whether it was true or not, the group of parents and teachers were all frightened. Some of them even ran away, not caring about the scene at all. Of course, most of the parents ran to where their children were. Other things could be ignored, but to most parents, their children were their lives. Ding Yin had been aggressive just a moment ago, but now she was so scared that her legs were weak and she sat on the ground as if paralyzed. She didn't even have the strength to move. Yun Jian just glanced at Ding Yin and ignored her. Needless to say, Ding Yin was no threat to him at all. The person Yun Jian wanted to deal with now was not a commoner like Ding Yin. Yun Jian knew that the sniper in the distance was here to assassinate her, and the sniper's sniping distance was very far, so she couldn't aim with her pistol. The sniper in the distance would not stop shooting at her. More importantly, Yun Jian believed that since someone wanted to assassinate her, The other party would definitely not send just one sniper to assassinate her. Adam gun. In front of Ding Yin, Yun Jian stretched out her hand to Adam, who was standing behind her. It was now 1:30 in the afternoon, and the sun's rays were still shining on Yun Jian's body. The winter sun was not dry and hot. Yes. Adam very respectfully took out an undetectable Browning pistol from his belt and handed it to Yun Jian. Seeing Yun Jian suddenly grab the pistol, Ding Yin felt that her heart was about to jump out of her chest. Chapter 654. After Yun Jian took the gun, the sound of a sniper rifle could be heard from a distance where most people couldn't hear. A barrage of bullets rained down on where Yun Jian was like a barrage of cannons. Fortunately, the surrounding parents had already left the scene. Even Ding Yin had to crawl with both hands to hide in the bushes next to the flower bed in a sorry state. Ding Yin's reaction speed wasn't slow. She crawled and rolled and quickly hid in the bushes at the side of the flower bed. When Ding Yin looked back after hiding herself, she happened to see Yun Jian pouncing on the ground. She shifted her body to the left and right like someone who knew martial arts in the movies, easily avoiding the bullets. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. The murderous intent in her eyes was obvious. Ding Yin clearly saw Yun Jian roll to avoid the sniper rifle. She was so scared that she covered her head and almost lost her courage. Yun Jian was so powerful. She was so powerful. Ding Yin was scared half to death. Adam also dodged to the side. Because the target of the bullet was Yun Jian, Adam only brushed past her. There wasn't a sniper aiming at him. Therefore, Adam's movement to dodge the bullet was very small. Just as Adam was about to step forward to help Yun Jian suddenly felt that something was wrong. She yelled at Adam, "Adam, go find my brother." Today, she didn't think too much about it. She came to Xiao Yunju School's Parent-Child Sports Day. The first event was over. The second and third events were held at the same time. The students and parents were separated. Yun Jian suddenly had a bad feeling. She could not take care of her younger brother now. The ones who had a grudge against her now were the remnants of Inferno Ring and the mysterious person that Job mentioned. Although the Inferno Ring was destroyed and Job was dead, she learned from Job that the mastermind behind the Inferno Ring wasn't Job, but a mysterious person. Yun Jian had no way of knowing who this mysterious person was, but Job's Taijin gang had not been eliminated yet. Since the Inferno Ring had captured Xiao Yunju in her past life, they must have known about her and Xiao Yunju. This was what Yun Jian was most worried about. This group of snipers clearly knew that they would not be able to kill him. Could it be that their target was Xiao Yunju? Just thinking about it made Yun Jian's heart turn cold. She would never allow Xiao Yunju to be captured by her again. Absolutely not. Yes, Adam replied. Then, he turned around and ran towards Xiao Yunju and the others. The scene was already a mess. Some parents were frightened and ran into the school building, cafeteria, and other places to wait for help. Most of the parents took their children and hid in the flower beds, not daring to make a sound. The snipers did not intend to kill the parents or children in the school, but they caused a lot of chaos. After Yun Jian dodged the barrage of bullets from the snipers, she took advantage of the time when the snipers were reloading their sniper rifles to run towards Xiao Yunju like a rocket. Seeing that there was no danger, Ding Yin crawled out of the flower beds. She was trembling, but she still hid behind the crowd and chased after Yun Jian. Ding Yin's daughter Tian Pei was in the same place as Xiao Yunju, so Ding Yin and Yun Jian ran together. Adam ran to the place where Xiao Yunju and Duanli were playing with frogs. Yun Jian was right behind him. "Miss, Yunju is over there. He was taken away by a strange uncle. Hurry up and save him." Yun Jian had just arrived when Duanli ran over. Duanli's small body was trembling, but she suppressed her fear and told Yun Jian the whole story clearly. Chapter 655. Sure enough, this group of people's target was her brother. Yun Jian suddenly felt a surge of anger. Yun Jian knew that if her brother was kidnapped by this group of people again, it would be the same as in her previous life. The scene of her brother's death in her previous life appeared in her mind once again. Yun Jian suddenly became angry. She did not wait for Duanli to finish speaking and rushed towards the man in black who was holding Xiao Yunju at the entrance. Ding Yin ran over and easily found Tian Pei, who was hiding in the corner. She was so scared that she did not even know who she was. She pulled Tianpei into her arms and hid in the corner as she watched Yun Jian rush towards the man who was trying to kidnap Xiao Yunju. Yun Jian's figure was faintly discernible under the afternoon sun. Her long hair flowed elegantly, giving off a kind of gentle beauty. However, this was not what people were concerned about. As Yun Jian ran, she conveniently hid the Browning pistol that Adam gave her into the pocket of her loose track pants. The belt of her track pants was loose. Yun Jian did not even need to lower her head to hide the Browning pistol in her pocket. Then, she took out the butterfly knife that she always carried with her from her pocket. Because she was afraid that the gun would hurt Xiao Yunju, Yun Jian did not plan to use a gun at all. Yun Jian opened the butterfly knife. She bit the butterfly knife by her mouth and ran forward with both hands. This butterfly knife was newly bought by Yun Jian. It was different from the one she used to destroy the Inferno ring. Yun Jian had already thrown away the butterfly knife that she picked out from the army. This was because the previous butterfly knife was stained with the blood of the Inferno ring. Usually, after Yun Jian killed someone with a butterfly knife, she would change it. This was because she felt that a knife stained with other people's blood was not clean. However, the knife in Yun Jian's hand was new. Therefore, she was not afraid that it would be dirty when she bit it. Yun Jian bit the butterfly knife. She ran with both hands, and her speed was several times faster than running with the butterfly knife. Everyone who stood afar, Ding Yin, Tianpei, Wang Ba's mother, Duan Li, Adam who stood where they were, and Lan Su who came later, saw her sprinting like the wind. This was probably the fastest running speed Yun Jian had ever run in her life. Yun Jian continued to walk forward. Her eyes were glowing red and filled with murderous intent. Even the man who was carrying Xiao Yunju sensed it. She bit the knife in her mouth. Isn't she afraid of swallowing it? What is she trying to do? A group of people who had hidden themselves were watching Yun Jian as if they were watching a show once they were in hiding. At this moment, a series of sniper rifle bullets could be heard. The people hiding in the surroundings immediately shut their mouths, not daring to make a sound. However, they also realized that the bullets were all aimed at Yun Jian. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She bit the butterfly knife, rolled forward twice, jumped up, and continued to chase after the man. The sniper rifle continued to fire. Even some of the parents who were hiding and watching the situation could see it. This group of snipers' target was Yun Jian. Yun Jian's action of rolling to avoid the bullets stunned everyone present. After all, no one dared to compete with bullets in terms of speed. However, Yun Jian dared. Not only did she dare, but she also dared to chase after someone under the sniper's fire. Hee. Yunju was taken away by the bad uncle. She deserves it. It's best if she dies. Suddenly, a girl's voice came from afar. Although Yun Jian was running, she heard it clearly. The voice came from Tianpei. Chapter 656. Tianpei's voice was loud and clear. It was the kind of voice that could be heard by most of the people present. This included Yun Jian, who was still dodging the sniper's bullets and chasing after the man who wanted to kidnap Xiao Yunju. Yun Jian's eyes darkened when she heard Tianpei's voice. If Xiao Yunju heard Tianpei's voice, even though Xiao Yunju said that he didn't care, Yun Jian knew that he definitely cared. When that happened, she would be depressed and sad. In her previous life, when Yun Jian found Xiao Yunju, his biological parents were already dead. Xiao Yunju was an orphan at that time. To Xiao Yunju, saying that he didn't have parents was worse than saying that he was stupid. Moreover, Tianpei even cursed Xiao Yunju. She said that she wanted to kidnap Xiao Yunju's man and beat Xiao Yunju to death. In her previous life, the scene of Xiao Yunju's head being cut off surfaced in Yun Jian's mind. Yun Jian was furious and ran faster. The sniper's bullets rained down on Yun Jian. Yun Jian was attacked from behind, but she dodged left and right. In just a few seconds, she had caught up with the man from a distance of tens of meters. Oh my God! That little girl is running too fast. And she's running through bullets. I feel like I'm watching a movie. This doesn't make sense. Some of the parents who had hidden themselves well began to chatter incessantly. Of course, there were still some who were afraid, but it was much less than before. Therefore, most of the parents had already realized that these snipers were only targeting Yun Jian. At this moment, It had only been 20 seconds since Yun Jian saw the man and chased after him. "I'll go help." Adam frowned and was about to go forward. Although Yun Jian was quite skilled, if Yun Jian lost a strand of hair in front of him, Adam estimated that he would appear in the Amazon forest next week. The Amazon forest was a tropical forest where poisonous insects, snakes, and scorpions coexisted. It was the largest forest in the world. There were many types of flora and fauna there. It was known as the world's flora and fauna kingdom. However, if a person was thrown there, his life would be in danger at any time. Adam only remembered that when he and Mo Sen were training, they were thrown into the Amazon forest by Ce to fend for themselves. He had almost lost his life a few times before he was able to train to this level. Although Adam wouldn't lose his life there, if he really let Yun Jian get hurt in front of him, he estimated that he would appear in the Amazon forest next week. Moreover, he didn't prepare any tools for him and went into battle alone. Adam dared to guarantee that their young master would definitely do this for Yun Jian. "No need." Lan Su suddenly reached out and stopped Adam from moving forward. She said, "She can do it herself." She was the witch god of Yulong continent. How could she not be able to handle such a small matter? Just as Lan Su's voice fell, a voice rang out. Yun Jian was already right in front of the man. She pounced forward. Under everyone's gaze, as she pounced forward, she extended her leg and kicked horizontally. At the same time, her mouth loosened and the butterfly knife in her mouth fell to the ground. Before the butterfly knife fell to the ground, she easily caught it with her right hand. She pounced forward again. When the man saw this, he was so scared that he quickly turned his head. However, Yun Jian's explosive speed couldn't be underestimated. She was engulfed in anger. The hand holding the butterfly knife turned along with the man's head. Chapter 657. The man who was carrying the unconscious Xiao Yunju was clearly quite capable. Judging from his skills, he did not look like a second-rate killer. He could at least be considered a high-level killer. A high-level killer could kill 50 normal people. This was because a high-level killer's standard was similar to an advanced special forces soldiers. Of course, the advanced special forces soldiers here did not refer to people like Chu Ning and Chu Xiongnan who had earned the title because of Yun Jian, but those who were truly capable. However, Chu Ning and the rest would become advanced special forces soldiers with real capabilities sooner or later. Usually, an official member of the advanced special forces who had undergone the most brutal training could take on 50 normal people alone. It was definitely not an exaggeration. However, such an existence had been killed on the spot by Yun Jian with a stab to his temple. Leaving these profound questions aside, just the fact that Yun Jian had killed someone was enough to scare everyone present out of their wits. Seeing someone kill someone in their imagination was definitely not as intense and shocking as seeing it in real life. Something like this had happened right in front of them, and the killer was the sister of their child's classmate from the same school. This feeling was definitely not as intense as they had imagined. After Yun Jian killed the man, she carried Xiao Yunju back from the man's shoulder before he fell to the ground. Xiao Yunju had been knocked out by the man and was unconscious at the moment. After Yun Jian carried Xiao Yunju, she did not even want the butterfly knife and retreated quite a distance from where she stood. Just as Lan Su reached out to stop Adam from helping Yun Jian, Lan Su and Adam had already disappeared from where they were. No one present knew what Lan Su and Adam had gone to do, and no one wanted to find out. Yun Jian hid behind a flower bed where the sniper could not aim. She checked Xiao Yunju from left to right and found that Xiao Yunju was only knocked out and was not a hindrance. It wouldn't affect the brain either. Just as Yun Jian flashed into the flower bed with Xiao Yunju, the crowd had already exploded. Ah, ah, ah. Kill, 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 kill. They're killing people. Someone was so frightened that he was trembling with fear, shouting and yelling at the same time. Then, a large group of female parents screamed in fright. For a moment, the whole place was in an uproar. After all, everyone present was a parent, and most of them were female. The male parents had already gone to work. 4 parent-child sports events, most of them were female parents. However, when they saw such a bloody scene, the group of female parents were so scared that they were trembling. Even their necks were trembling. Yun Jian placed Xiao Yunju in the flower bed. "Miss, how is Yunju? Is he okay?" Just as Yun Jian placed Xiao Yunju in the flower bed, Duanli had already rushed over from the other side. Yun Jian frowned. She didn't see Lan Su and Adam, but she knew that they must have gone to deal with the sniper in the distance. So when Duanli ran over, Yun Jian didn't stop her. Chestnut, look after Xiao Zhu for me. Yun Jian gently moved Xiao Yunju's head to Duanli's calf. Okay. Duanli nodded heavily. Yun Jian walked out of the flower bed. She walked over to the dead man's temple and pulled out the butterfly knife in front of the group of parents who were shivering and looking at her. Then, she walked towards Ding Yin and Tian Pei. Ding Yin and Tian Pei saw the scene just now and were already squatting on the ground, trembling in fear. Both of them were indescribably terrified when they saw Yun Jian coming over. Swish! Suddenly, Yun Jian threw out the butterfly knife. Ah! Ding Yin and Tian Pei screamed at the same time. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.